Chapter 1199. Suddenly, Bei Yunja's phone rang and she answered without looking up. What's wrong? It was Song Yao's voice from the other end. What color gown are you wearing tomorrow? Bei Yunj licked her lips and narrowed her beautiful eyes. Soon, she recalled. The grayish-blue one. That custom-made gown with grayish-blue tassels was specially flown over by the old master. It was a seasonal gown. Okay. Song Yao had also seen that gown and was quite satisfied with Bei Yunja's choice. Miss Song, did you call in the middle of the night to tell me about this? Bei Yunj asked with a faint smile as she twirled the pencil in her hand. Song Yao probed. Then, what do you and your brother plan to do now? But, Bei Yunj exclaimed and suddenly leaned back. The corners of her lips curled up lazily and she started to talk fearlessly. Plan? I plan to get married this year and have 2 children next year. After I graduate from university, I'll get the children at home to buy me a cake and put up candles for Mother's Day. Song Yao was speechless. Why would she call Bei Yunj when she had nothing better to do? However, Bei Yunj was also addicted to teasing Song Yao. She looked up at the ceiling playfully, her gaze gradually moving back and her mouth becoming louder. Auntie Little Song, don't be anxious. If you really don't have a partner, I'll give you a little. Before she could finish speaking, suddenly, she saw the man holding a teacup and wearing a black t-shirt, looking at her calmly. Bei Yunj was speechless. When did this person run behind her? Aren't you going to finish your conversation first? The man raised his eyebrows, his tone casual and lazy. On the other end of the line, Song Yao also heard Huashidu's voice, but her heart did not ache for Bei Yunj. It was best if someone could teach this young master a lesson. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she straightened her back. Well, Tian, see you tomorrow. On the other end, Song Yao could not help but smile. Okay, good night. The call was hung up and the atmosphere was strange. When did you come in? Bei Yunj asked subconsciously. Before you call me. Without waiting for Bei Yunj to complain, Huashidu said slowly, I wanted to remind her, but I was afraid that I would disturb our union studies. Bei Yunj, the car flipped again. Huashidu licked his thin red lips and chuckled. However, I'm also quite curious who Union wants to hug next year. The man's pair of seductive peach blossom eyes could not hide his smile, and there was also a hint of teasing. The light condensed in the depths of his pale pupils, and one look was so ambiguous that it made people blush and their hearts beat faster. Then, Bei Yunj heard him say, this idea is quite torturous. Bei Yunj, her words were a momentary pleasure, but she ended up in the crematorium. Seeing that Bei Yunja's neck was slightly red, Huashidu stopped teasing her. He smiled silently and reached out to scratch her chin. I've heated up some milk for you downstairs. Drink it before you sleep. Bei Yunj stood up abruptly and ran out. The man looked at Bei Yunja's back and raised his eyebrows lazily, the smile on his lips faintly discernible. She hid quite quickly. The next day, Song Yao had just entered the lounge on the 2nd floor when she saw a person in a grayish-blue dress leaning lazily against the sofa. Her black hair was scattered, her skin was fair like jade, and her eyes were filled with charm. It was a simple and elegant gown, but on her, it looked lazy, sexy, and classy. Chapter 1200. Your waist isn't good? Why are you lying down? Song Yao could not help but smile. It was obvious that he remembered yesterday's accident. Bei Yunj was speechless. After what happened last night, Bei Yunj was slightly silent this morning, but the man's expression was the same as usual. However, when they were sitting in the back of the car, she suddenly heard the man ask, have you thought about who you want to be the father of your child? Nonsense. Huashidu. However, the D*MN man that Bei Yunj was scolding in her heart was talking to old Master Qin downstairs. Bei Yunj leaned her chin against the railing on the 2nd floor with Song Yao. She saw that the man was wearing a neatly ironed black suit. His shirt buttons were not as loose as usual, but were buttoned to the top. Bei Yunj thought. It seemed like every time he was in front of old Master Qin, Huashidu's shirt buttons would be buttoned properly. When he spoke to old Master Qin, his tone was always gentle and patient. There was no sense of distance. However, as long as old Master Qin walked far away, although the man looked refined and dignified, his expression was indifferent and light. There was a sense of alienation that kept people thousands of miles away. Suddenly, Song Yao smiled. "That's great." "What?" Bei Yunj asked. "When I liked Fu Yanbai in the past, I overestimated myself and always treated a man's charity as something special. But later, I found out that because we are destined to have an unequal relationship, as long as he treats me normally, I will think that he treats me well." Song Yao's eyes were curved, but her voice was as gentle and smiling as ever. But Huashidu was different. He was so good to Bei Yunj that anyone with a discerning eye would be envious of. It was as if, as long as you look at me with a little love in your eyes, I will walk over and hug you openly. With such a man liking Bei Yunj, Song Yao was not afraid that Bei Yunj would follow in her footsteps. Bei Yunj looked at Song Yao for a while. She reached out to stroke the hair on her neck and said slowly, Tian, don't be afraid. As long as I'm around, there won't be a second Fu Yanbai by your side." Song Yao did not want to waste her energy to like anyone else. Now, she only hoped that her parents would be healthy and happy. Bei Yunj would succeed in everything. In the evening, there were many guests downstairs. After some of old man Qin's old friends finished exchanging greetings, they glanced over and saw several old men with smiles on their faces. Although they weren't dressed extravagantly, they looked strangely familiar. "Those people look familiar." Someone could not help but murmur. "Do I look familiar? But from what I see, he looks very ordinary. I thought he had snuck in." As soon as he said this, a certain CEO was pushed hard by his friend. "What's wrong with you?" That was by Mingzhang, an academician of the Academy of Sciences and the former president of Yun University. "You don't even like her?" As soon as he said that, everyone looked at Bai Mingzhang. Bai Mingzhang's friends were dressed in the same style as Bai Mingzhang, and they looked very familiar with each other. "Old Bai? Then the people around him can't all be." The person who spoke felt his legs go soft. This was a scientific research big shot that could only be seen on TV. Zhong Xinglin, Zhou Moping, Yu Guang, Si Qingyan, and the current principal of Yun University. I don't know the rest. However, when these names were read out, it was already enough to make people suck in a breath of cold air. Did half of the scientific research community come to celebrate eldest Miss Qin's graduation? Wasn't this too extravagant? A VIP of this level was not someone who could be invited by money and power. Chapter 1201. These people who stood at the top of the scientific research field did not care if you were rich or not. Otherwise, with the standards of people like Bai Mingzhang and Zhou Moping, selling a few patents would make people look up to them for the rest of their lives. What's going on? Old Master Qin can even invite these people? The others could not help but be shocked. After the people at the side came back to their senses, they stared at the two figures and hesitated. In the end, they did not say a word. Old Master Leng and Old Master Chu were actually here. The boss who had seen Old Master Chu and Old Master Leng by chance felt his scalp tingle. The scariest thing was that the Qin family could invite these two people. People like Old Master Leng and Old Master Chu would not easily attend banquets and did not like to have anything to do with people in the industry. It was said that even at Old Master Chu's nephew's coming-of-age ceremony, Old Master Chu only bowed and did not attend because there were too many people who wanted to see him. But today, Old Master Chu actually came to the Qin family personally. Looking at Old Master Chu's jubilant expression, those who did not know would think that the main character of today's banquet was Old Master Chu's biological granddaughter. But not long after. Suddenly, 3 men from another race walked into the hall. The man in the lead had blonde hair and blue eyes. He was handsome and was about 30 years old. He had a literary temperament, but his simple work clothes did not match the elegant and noble style of the hall. The brown-skinned man behind him had a scar on his jaw and a nail ring on his nose. He did not look like someone to be trifled with. The others were discussing and wished they could retreat 10 meters away. Who were these three people? Yunyan's friends? Suddenly, they heard a cold voice that sounded neither fast nor slow. Xian Yuan looked up and met the eyes of a handsome and noble man. However, for some reason, he subconsciously avoided the man's gaze that seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. He had a feeling that this man gave him a dangerous and oppressive feeling. It should be, this was the first time in so many years that Xian Yuan was suppressed by someone's aura. Then let's wait. She'll be down soon. The man's behavior was gentle and polite. He was not warm, but he did not make the three of them feel awkward. It was as if he was born to be a vanity hunter. Soon, the people upstairs finally came down. Xian Yuan and the others heard a commotion and subconsciously looked up. It was a girl wearing a grayish-blue tasseled dress. Her long black curly hair was loose, revealing half of her fair neck and exquisite collarbone. Her pair of beautiful phoenix eyes were playful, but they were also bright and charming. You are, Xian Yuan and Bei Yunj looked at each other for a moment and asked hesitantly in a low voice, Max's child? Bei Yunj, her eyelids twitched, and she glanced at the big bamboo baskets on hibernating Bear and Pang Hu's back. What are they doing? Did you bring back bamboo shoots? Hearing this familiar cold and aloof tone, Xian Yuan and the others froze. They suddenly had a very unbelievable thought, is this Max? That's not right. How could Max look so young? They had always thought that Max should be a gloomy, solitary, and sickly white scientific research genius. How could she be so beautiful in person? Bei Yunj was also quite silent. She did not know how to face these three people who might give her a few baskets of bamboo shoots. It's really you, boss. Pang Hu was the first to become excited because of the meeting, and it also affected the other two. Brothers, come. Let's find a room and have a good chat. The three of them hugged 3 baskets of unknown things and said sneakily. Chapter 12:02. Let me make it clear first. I don't really like bamboo shoots. Next time, you can dig up some sweet potatoes, Bei Yunj suddenly said. Xian Yuan, what was wrong with this person? Was she looking down on the economic strength of CI7 too much? Who would come to visit with sweet potatoes and bamboo shoots? My friend, trust me, no one can resist its temptation. Pang Hu revealed a strange and wretched smile. Bei Yunj was even more silent when she heard this. After a while, she said, Pang Hu, let me tell you, it's illegal to gather people for obscenity here. If you take out a basket of random tapes, I'll call the police immediately. Pang Hu, in the end. Bei Yunj looked at them suspiciously and went to the second floor with them. On the other hand, the others felt that the young Miss Friends were too strange. One look and they could tell that they were not decent people. In the lounge. When the three of them opened the bamboo basket, what was unexpected was that it was filled with bits and pieces of diamonds, gemstones, gold, jade, and the like. Bei Yunj picked up a heavy tophyte. As a rare gemstone, tophytes were worth 35,000 yuan in our nation's currency per carat. She threw it to the side. This action made Xian Yuan and the others' eyelids twitch. Then, Bei Yunj caught a glimpse of a few raw violet diamonds. They were the size of a pigeon's egg, but they were already bigger than the largest violet diamond on the market. Before Bei Yunj could do anything, Pang Hu immediately went up and held these violet diamonds. Be gentle. The annual production of violet diamonds is less than 12 carats, and the largest on the market is only 2.83 carats. However, the violet diamonds they gave were already 5 carats in size. Not only that, there were only 3 or 4 violet diamonds that were larger than 1 carat on the market. And Bei Yunj had 4 5-carat violet diamonds the size of pigeon's egg. Where did this come from? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Pang Hu immediately said, this was dug up legally, and it's also from a mammal mines. If I didn't know that you owed tens of billions, would have given you half of my fortune. Bei Yunj interrupted, what tens of billions? Pang, who used the tone of an experienced person, and said earnestly, don't be embarrassed, I'm doing this because we're kindred spirits. Young people, who hasn't done some messy things? Bei Yunj suddenly laughed. She licked her lips and glanced at them. What nonsense have I done? But for some inexplicable reason, he felt a lingering fear. Zhixiong hesitated. Didn't you get caught for robbing a bank, and now you're tens of billions in debt? Didn't you join CI7 to pay off your debts? Bei Yunj, ? Xian Yuan, ? The director said so. Zhixiong felt Bei Yunj's cold gaze. Not long after, Xian Yuan also felt his hair stand on end. I didn't say anything. I knew you were in need of money. Maybe it's because of debt. Who knew that this group of people would gossip all day long and fill in the blanks like this? A few minutes after Xian Yuan finished explaining, the atmosphere became awkward. Max, how big is your yard? Planting flowers is so expensive. How many do you have? Just a few hundred square meters. Xian Yuan and the rest still felt that it was normal, but the next moment, they heard Bei Yunj continue, Juliet Roses. Xian Yuan, Peng Hu and Zhixiong, was that the legendary million roses that they didn't even dare to touch? Even for people like them who didn't lack money, Juliet Roses were famous for being squeamish. Those who could afford to buy them weren't big shots, those who could afford to raise them were the real big shots. Chapter 1203. They were actually pitying someone who raised hundreds of Juliet Roses? She really felt that she was living too well. Pang Hu couldn't help but ask, Max, this flower is very difficult to raise, right? You're raising it in Yuncheng. It's quite difficult to raise, but the manor's butler takes care of it. The flowers are raised in Nili. If you like them, you can go to Bacton to pick them, Bei Yunj replied after thinking for a while. Xian Yuan also fell silent. Bacton Manor? Bei Yunj replied, yes. For a moment, the atmosphere was dead silent. What kind of crazy big shot was this? Bacton Manor was actually Max's private manor? Soon, Xian Yuan and the rest showed signs of rejection. I don't deserve it. I don't dare. That's Juliet Roses. Who would dare to pick a few for no reason? Wouldn't that be ruining a real flower? Xian Yuan declined. Thank you. When I can buy a glass garden in Bacton Manor, I'll go pick them. Yes, that was a glass garden with encyclopedic information. Bei Yunj, the way Xian Yuan and the rest looked at Bei Yunj also changed. As expected of Max, he could even raise such a money-burning hobby. Bei Yunj, her eyelids twitched. All right, take the things back. I don't lack money. Bei Yunj wasn't interested in taking advantage of others, but she remembered that the three of them had donated more than half of their assets because they thought she was in debt. No, I've already taken them. Do I have to carry them back? Pang Hu was the first to object. Then, he said, it's not good for a man like me to store so many diamonds. Just take these as a gift for my graduation. But until now, they still felt like they were dreaming. Max was actually a prospective college student. Bei Yunj couldn't stand the three of them nagging and agreed to accept them. But from the corner of her eye, she saw a document bag inside. What's this? Bei Yunj had just picked it up when she heard Zhixiong's explanation. He was proud and arrogant. This is some information about the private jet I'm giving you. It doesn't matter if you don't have a pilot's license. Anyway, you can hire someone to drive it for you. Am I being very thoughtful? Bei Yunj, at this very moment. There were a few uninvited guests downstairs. The Qin family's eldest Mrs. graduation banquet is indeed a grand occasion. Everyone turned around and saw a few familiar faces of the foreign races. Beside the exquisitely dressed foreign girls, there was a beautiful girl in a white dress. That's Qin Yojiao. Why is she here? Some people were discussing in a low voice. This time, old Master Qin did not invite many people and no one expected to see Qin Yojiao here. The socialites around her seemed to be some famous socialites in the Neely Circle. Do you know about the Neely 18 Beauties Association? Hearing this, someone immediately reacted. Qin Yojiao went that time too, right? Therefore, were these top socialites in the Neely Circle friends of Qin Yojiao? Everyone present was smart. How could they not see that Qin Yojiao's motive for coming today was not simple? Was she trying to suppress him on the spot? After all, she heard that Qin Yojiao was pressured by the Qin family and refused to rent a better hotel to her. Why are you here? Old Master Qin's expression darkened. Seeing Qin Yojiao's posture, the taste of blood surged up his throat. Grandpa, you don't want me to come so much? Qin Yojiao maintained an appropriate smile and asked in return. At this moment, the socialite beside Qin Yojiao sneered. The Qin family's eldest miss is so thick-skinned. Aren't you going to come out and meet the guests? Chapter 1204. Many people present knew the first person to speak. It was Vera, the only daughter of the chairman of Banger Corporation. She was also a famous socialite in Neely. Master Du, I'll get someone to settle it. Zhou Yu frowned. He had just pressed his Bluetooth earpiece and was about to deal with these people when he was interrupted by Huashidu. No need. Huashidu's slow voice confused Zhou Yu. Huh? No need to deal with them? But wasn't Master Du always nervous about Miss Pei? How could he bear to let Miss Pei be bullied? At this moment, Huashidu looked at the person leaning lazily against the railing on the stage and turned to walk down. His upturned eyes were lazy and light as he replied slowly, they provoked Bei Yunj. Zhou Yu did not understand what he meant, but Sing Su understood. Master Du wanted to use these people to establish Miss Pei's authority. There were so many people in the industry present. Master Du did not want people to think that Miss Pei had just entered a wealthy family like the Qin family and had hooked up with him in the blink of an eye. He wanted people to know that Miss Pei never needed to hide behind anyone. Sing Su had just regained his senses when he heard the man say lightly, "You can deal with those who need to be dealt with any time." Alright, he was still targeted by Master Du. Grandpa, what happened? Who made you so angry? Bei Yunj's voice trailed from upstairs slowly. Xian Yuan and the rest could probably see that someone seemed to be causing trouble downstairs and their eyes turned cold. Are these your friends? Seeing Bei Yunj, old Master Qin's voice became gentle as he held Bei Yunj's hand with a smile. Bei Yunj replied, I just met online friends. The rest of the people were speechless. There were still people meeting online friends these days? And they were overseas friends? Xian Yuan greeted Old Master Qin in Country A's language. Old Master Qin was not harsh on Bei Yunj's friends. Instead, he chatted with Xian Yuan in a fluent foreign language. This scene almost hurt Qin Yojiao's eyes. The jealousy and distortion in her eyes could not be suppressed and she could not help but laugh coldly. They were really filial. I heard that Miss Pei got into Yun University's physics department. It's really not bad. If you need it, why don't you come to Bangor's research team to give it a try? Vera casually held her champagne glass and smiled sarcastically. Our company recruits 100 researchers every year and eliminates them through screening and elimination. At the end of the day, they're all working for others. After saying this, Vera didn't know that Zhong Xinglin and the others had stopped eating and slowly turned to look at her. The atmosphere suddenly became oppressive. Really? So powerful? Bei Yunja's red lips curved as she followed her words. It's not that impressive, but it's still slightly better than some useless research companies in Country A. Vera shook her champagne glass confidently, trying to suppress Bei Yunj with every word she said. Miss Pei, you don't have to be nervous. On account of Yojiao, it's not difficult to let you enter Banger. Miss, you're too polite. But I'm currently working with someone, so I can't enter your company. Bei Yunj glanced at her with interest and sneered. He walked to the long table and poured a glass of red wine. Oh. Vera seemed to have found an opportunity and immediately asked, Miss Pei, what company are you planning to enter? You actually don't like our banger? Could it be that you'd rather choose a third-rate company than accept my good intentions because of a fit of pique? Chapter 1205. Bei Yunj did not speak, but the corners of her lips curled up slightly. When the socialites saw this, they thought that Bei Yunj had been exposed by them. They were angry but did not dare to say anything. Yunj, Vera's father's company is a top-notch research corporation. You don't have to reject him. Qin Yojiao chuckled from the side. Many people can't get this opportunity even if they beg for it. Those who didn't know better would think that Qin Yojiao was giving Bei Yunj charity. However, not far away, the expressions of Zhong Xinglin and the rest were extremely dark and their hearts were numb and cold. Sure, Banger Corporation. She still looked down on them who did scientific research. So, you want to poach me? Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow. Her words made Vera's expression darken and she laughed in anger. This woman really dared to say it. Their company was poaching her? Where did she get the cheek to let their Banger Corporation give her this honor? However, Vera still suppressed her anger and said with a fake smile in front of everyone, for Yojiao's sake, I can help you pay the penalty fee. As for the company you originally signed with, it's not a big deal. I'll give them more money and let them know when to stop. Vera's arrogant tone made old Master Qin almost fly into a rage when she deliberately humiliated her in front of everyone. Who did she think she was to dare speak like this? Did the elder young miss of the Qin family need someone else to pay the penalty fee? However, just as old Master Qin was about to scold her, a cold laugh suddenly trailed from outside. Banger Corporation is so shameless. This is my first time seeing someone poach someone so confidently. Hearing the voice, Vera and the other socialites found it familiar and immediately turned to look. They never thought that the people walking over would be Tich and Jasmine. Why were they here? Vera's expression changed and she panicked inexplicably. Tich, I just think that Miss Pei doesn't need to stay in that kind of third-rate company and want to help her. At this moment, Vera still didn't know which company was the third-rate company she was so confident in. After all, she didn't believe that any top research corporation would cooperate with a prospective university student. Tich, when did your family become a third-rate company? Jasmine had an elegant smile on his lips, but there was no warmth in his eyes when he looked at them. Vera's smile froze for a moment. What? Tich simply looked away and walked in front of Bei Yunj. Tich's eyes lit up as he looked at Bei Yunj. His tone was inexplicably respectful as he said, Miss Pei, this is the gift I prepared for you. My father still has something to do at the company, so he'll be half an hour late. He asked me to greet you first. Judging from Tich's tone, those who didn't know would think that he was meeting an elder. However, Tich was a famous young master in the Neely Circle. Who would dare to be his senior? Bei Yunj frowned. What is he doing here? Tich, his teacher, still disliked his father as usual. Jasmine also panicked when he saw Bei Yunj's attitude. It was over. His father was also here today. He even said that he had to pull him over for a few drinks today. On the other hand, Bei Yunj felt that her student seemed to be a little restrained every time he saw her. She thought for a moment and decided to find a topic to ease the tension. She asked lightly, Have you finished writing your research report? Tich, Jasmine, what kind of death question was this? Chapter 1206. Tich said. It might take another 2 to 3 days. Although they were already used to Bei Yunj's rhythm, this habit was numb and they could not keep up with Bei Yunj's level. However, this conversation seemed abnormally strange in the crowd. Who were Tich and Jasmine? Skipping grades in high school and university was like child's play. When they were studying at a top university like Neely University, they had already entered our nation's computing institute with first and second results. Who in the Neely circle had not been crazily infatuated with these two handsome and intelligent men? However, from the conversation just now, those who did not know would almost think that Bei Yunj was Tich and Jasmine's senior teacher. Vera's expression did not look too good either. Everyone in the Neely circle knew that she liked Titch and that the Delaney Corporation and Bang Corporation were interested in a marriage. Although Titch did not like her and had not even spoken to her much. Titch, is Bei Yunj from your corporation's research team? Vera bit her lip and could not help asking. However, when Titch and Jasmine heard Vera call Bei Yunj by her full name, they both looked up at her with a little coldness. Titch said expressionlessly, "No, Miss Pei has shares in our corporation and is one of the decision-makers of the corporation." With that said, Titch specially added, it was Miss Pei's decision to work with Bang previously. The news of the Delaney Corporation was very tight and not many people knew that the chief decision-maker was Bei Yunj. They only knew that their big boss listened to that new boss very much. Instantly, Vera's face paled and Qin Yojiao's expression changed. Qin Yojiao looked up at Bei Yunj and stared fixedly at her. What? How was that possible? She's the new decision-maker? What? The crowd burst into an uproar. How many F***king people in the country could get in touch with the Delaney Corporation? However, the eldest young miss of the Qin family had actually become the decision-maker of the Delaney Corporation without batting an eyelid? Vera had never had such a guess. Although Bang had been asking around about who the new decision-maker of the Delaney Corporation was, he did not know if it was a man or a woman. But now, she actually saw it with her own eyes. She even swore to Bei Yunj that she would compensate her for the breach of contract and asked the Delaney group to stop while they were ahead. Is this true? Old man Qin was starting to wonder if he was dreaming. Bei Yunj glanced at Titch and quickly said to old Qin, "I happen to know Delaney. I'm just doing him a favor." Everyone, what a guy. What kind of dog talk was this? However, I didn't expect that company to be Bangor. Bei Yunj's slow voice made Vera subconsciously raise her head and look into her eyes. She shuddered suddenly. Clearly, she only wanted to get closer to Elena, so she planned to help Qin Yojiao. After all, it was easy for her to deal with the eldest daughter of the Qin family, who couldn't even be considered a top family. However, she had never imagined that this was simply a matter of wading into muddy waters. And this Bei Yunj, who looked like she had nothing to do, was actually the one who ate people whole. Then when you chose Bangor. Titch wanted to say something but hesitated. Bei Yunj said slowly, "How would I know whose company is better? Delaney insisted on asking me. I saw that the person in charge of Bangor had the surname Song, so I voted for him." Everyone, ? Lu Yunc sighed. Sister Yao is really favored. Chu Zhixing, what terrible language skills. Chapter 1207. Titch didn't expect his teacher's reason to be so simple and straightforward. He thought that at least it was because Bonner had won his teacher's favor in advance. However, when he thought about it, his father had always been cautious about anything related to his teacher. No one else would have the chance to curry favor with him. When Vera heard Bei Yunj's words, her expression changed even more. Ever since she started working with Delaney this year, their company had been thriving, so Vera's status in the socialite circle had also risen. But now, she had offended the person who had brought all this to her, suddenly. Everyone heard a sneer not far away. "Indeed, we can't match up to a big company like Bonner Group. I didn't expect that the Banger Group had never taken us seriously." Vera frowned subconsciously and looked at the person who spoke in disgust. However, when she saw who it was, her face turned pale. Zhong Xinglin? Why was Zhong Xinglin from the Computing Institute here? "Mr. Zhong, why are you here?" Vera's expression was ugly as she forced a smile. There was a reason why Vera knew Zhong Xinglin. Back then, Bonner had begged for 3 years before they got the chance to work with the Computing Institute. She didn't expect to meet Zhong Xinglin on this occasion. When Zhong Xinglin rejected her father's invitation, he had said that he didn't like to get involved in anyone's banquet. Why? "Do I need your family's permission to work for your company and attend a junior's graduation banquet?" Zhong Xinglin's tone was very bad, making Vera hesitate. "I didn't," unexpectedly, Zhong Xinglin interrupted coldly. In that case, the termination letter from the Computing Institute will be sent to your company's email tomorrow morning. Although I, Zhong Xinglin, have been doing research all my life, I don't lack companies that are begging to cooperate. Instantly, Vera's face turned pale. Her father had been begging for 3 years, but because of her words, it was completely ruined? No. If her father were to find out about this, he would definitely want to chase her out. Especially in the past 2 years, after entering the Computing Institute, the institute had always been in the limelight. Elder Zhong, I'm young and ignorant. Please don't take it to heart. I'll apologize to you, is that okay? Vera's eyes were red and she felt even more regretful. Why did she have to find trouble to help Qin Yojiao vent her anger today? This matter had nothing to do with her. Miss Vera, please respect yourself. We old fellows have heard your words clearly. After Zhong Xinglin finished speaking, Miss Vera realized that the people around Zhong Xinglin were all familiar faces in Country A's scientific research field. Even though she had always been proud of Country R's scientific research capabilities, she also knew that this group of people, even those ruthless figures in Country R's scientific research field, did not dare to offend them easily. Vera felt the gazes of these big shots and her legs went soft for a moment. How could this be? It was clearly just a banquet for the eldest daughter of the Qin family. Why were all these lofty scientific research bigwigs here? Vera was not the only one with a terrible expression. Qin Yojiao was the same. Her pupils constricted and her pretty face was a little distorted. She could not understand why this was happening. What had happened in the 2 years she had been away? Why did Bei Yunj know these people? Bei Yunj walked slowly towards Qin Yojiao and leaned forward slightly. Welcome, Miss Qin. However, Miss Qin, you should change into another gown. It's quite an eyesore. With that said, the red wine in Bei Yunj's hand spilled on her dress. Bei Yunj. End of chapter. Chapter 1208. Qin Yojiao's expression became even more ferocious. She did not expect Bei Yunj to be so arrogant. She actually made things difficult for her in front of so many people on purpose. Bei Yunj placed the wine glass on the table and did not feel guilty at all. Instead, she raised her eyebrows slowly, giving off an impudent and arrogant feeling. She splashed red wine all over Qin Yojiao for no other reason. It was because in Bei Yunj's dream, she had seen Qin Yojiao wearing this gown and being surrounded by the crowd. However, because of Qin Yojiao's words, the original owner was deliberately locked in the door by the servants and given leftovers. She did not want to see Qin Yojiao as an eyesore in this situation. Bei Yunj glanced sideways at Qin Yojiao, who was trembling in anger. She was about to walk around when she saw Qin Yojiao staring at someone. Qin Yojiao bit her lip. This was the first time she felt so humiliated. But when she looked around, no one wanted to help her. They were all looking at her with cold or sarcastic eyes. Qin Yojiao had just looked away when she saw the man with a carefree expression. The man was still the same as always. His expression was indifferent, as if no one and nothing could enter his eyes. A dark look flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes and she pursed her lips as she walked towards the man. Everyone thought that she was going to change her clothes. But in the next second, Qin Yojiao walked closer and closer to Hushidu. Just as a strange glint flashed past her eyes and she wanted to pretend to fall and get closer to the man, Bei Yunj suddenly walked over quickly. Before anyone could react, Qin Yojiao was suddenly grabbed by the back of her neck as if he was holding an animal. She was pulled back by Bei Yunj. When their eyes met again, there was no smile in Bei Yunj's eyes, but Qin Yojiao felt a chill run down her spine. She pinched the back of Qin Yojiao's neck and did not let go. Her tone was playful and filled with hostility. Why are you relying on him? Relying on me. However, Qin Yojiao's thoughts were exposed and her heart turned cold and nervous. I didn't. Qin Yojiao did not know why, but she wanted to get close to that man just now. Looking at Bei Yunj's exasperated expression. But it was definitely not like now. She was grabbing the back of her neck as if she was holding a cat or dog, but her eyes were dangerous as if she was looking at a dead person. You're quite good. Pei Yunja's tone was cold as she flung him away. Qin Youjiao. Of her, she could only bite her lip and look at Hua. Mr. Hua, when Sing Su saw this scene, he felt that his master was in a difficult position. Why was he being pestered even though he had done nothing? Moreover, Miss Pei's possessiveness was too strong. Suddenly, the man stood up and walked towards them. Seeing him, Youjiao's eyes. However, after that, the man only held Pei Yunja's hand casually and walked to the side, not even looking at her. Sing Su, it's settled. Youjiao. In Youjiao no, they. However, the man held Pei Yunja's hand and did not even look at anyone else. Yes, Sing Su answered and walked in front of Qin Youjiao. Miss Qin, do you need me to say anything else? Bei Yunj knew that it was not a man's business to be held by someone, but she still said sourly. You seem to be very good at seducing people. Even Qin Youjiao had taken a fancy to him. Huashidu was speechless. He did not know what this child was thinking about all day long. P.S. At least, you can sleep first. I'll take a shower and continue reading. End of chapter. Chapter 1209. He was about to reach out and pinch Bei Yunja's face when Bei Yunj avoided him. Are you that angry? Huashidu's lips curled up unconsciously. Before Bei Yunj could speak, she suddenly heard someone calling her. She could only glare at Huashidu with gritted teeth. Huashidu rarely felt that his child was a little fierce. After Bei Yunj left, Zhou walked over carefully. Master Du, Miss Pei's expression just now looked like she wanted to eat someone. Who knew? Huashidu laughed, casual and frivolous. I didn't say that I wouldn't let her eat it. When the little girl pulled a long face, she gritted her teeth fiercely. Grandpa, what's the matter? Bei Yunj walked over and her unhappiness dissipated. Look, this is your Grandpa Xing's grandson. He's the same age as you. Old Master Qin seemed to have drunk too much and was overjoyed. Pei Yunja's eyes met with the blushing face of the handsome boy opposite her and suddenly had a bad feeling. Miss Pei is really amazing. How did you get 749 marks in the college entrance examination? The boy seemed to be trying his best to talk to her. Qin Yu and Qin Lang watched from the side, their eyes filled with danger. However, with the old master around, they did not dare to be impudent. Bei Yunj said, just write less for your essay. The boy was speechless. All the elders were speechless. Qin Yu lowered his head and the corners of his lips curled up uncontrollably. After that, he heard Qin Lang laugh carelessly. It's like this. Our Qin family's son-in-law's standard is to score at least 740 marks in the college entrance examination. Qin Yu glanced at Qin Lang leisurely. This person with the lowest score in the Qin family actually had the cheek to spout nonsense. However, Qin Lang had managed to get into Yun University by following the cutoff score. When the boy heard Qin Lang's words, his face turned red. Qin Lang. What nonsense are you talking about? Old Master Qin scolded. I can't be compared to Miss Pei, but I also hope to be friends with Miss Pei. The boy was simple-minded and could not hide his good impression of girls. At this moment, Bei Yunj also smelled a familiar cold aura around her. All right, what shouldn't have come has come. Bei Yunj heard the man say leisurely beside her, Yin seems to be very good at seducing people. Bei Yunj, in the darkness of the long corridor. Qin Youjiao looked at Bei Yunj and Huashidu's figures. The light in her eyes was strange and there was a trace of unwillingness in her expression. If she had met Huashidu first outside the mental hospital that time, would she? Miss Qin always likes things that don't belong to her. Qin Youjiao turned around and saw Song Yao with curved eyebrows and beautiful dimples by her lips. Miss Song wants to humiliate me in order to please Bei Yunj? There was a hint of sarcasm in Qin Youjiao's voice. Or do you really think that Bei Yunj treats you as a friend? With you by her side, she only sees you as a foil. I don't think Miss Qin has any friends, only people who make use of each other, right? Song Yao's voice was gentle, but it was filled with determination. There was no smile in her eyes. Yunj won't spend her time on you, but my time isn't worth anything. Miss Qin, you can try to play tricks again next time. Guess if Senior Ching will firmly believe that Miss Qin is still as affectionate as before. With that said, Song Yao took out a pearl bracelet from somewhere. She lowered her eyes and put it on for Qin Youjiao, but Qin Youjiao's expression was extremely ugly. She had bribed a servant to find an opportunity to put this pearl bracelet by Huashidu's side. Don't lose it next time. Song Yao looked up at her, as if reminding her. Chapter 12:10. Qin Youjiao felt like a mouthful of blood had accumulated in her chest and she was extremely frustrated. First, Bei Yunj had humiliated her in public. Then, Song Yao had grabbed her weakness and stabbed her in the heart. She did not know how much Song Yao knew, but Qing Zihuai was her trump card. She could not let Qing Zihuai distrust her. Song Yao, you'll regret it. Qin Youjiao gritted her teeth, her expression fierce. Song Yao's lips curved and she tidied Qin Youjiao's hair, not being biased at all. Really? Miss Qin's dress is really pretty. The feeling of her fist hitting cotton made Qin Youjiao grit her teeth in hatred. However, Tsing Su only regained his senses when he saw Qin Youjiao leave angrily. None of Miss Pei's friends were easy to deal with. Tsing Su had been with Huashidu for so long, so of course he could see through Qin Youjiao's tricks. However, he did not expect Song Yao to make a move. However, this move indeed made Tsing Su understand why Bei Yunj and Song Yao could become friends. One was openly arrogant and specialized in hitting people where it hurt. The other was gentle and deadly. Tsing Su broke out in cold sweat. Good lord, none of them were good people. At the banquet. Tian, where did you go? Lu Yuanxi said smoothly. Song Yao said. I went to touch up my makeup. Hearing this address, Bei Yunj glanced at Lu Yuanxi faintly, but did not say anything. Master Pei, why are you unhappy at the banquet? Lu Yuanxi asked. Bei Yunj said calmly, there are still 4 days before school starts. Are you very happy? Lu Yuanxi and the others were speechless. It turned out that the big boss also had such a simple problem. Only Song Yao glanced at Bei Yunj when she heard this. She only asked after Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing ran to play games with the other students. Because of your brother? Bei Yunj bit a grape and said slowly, school was about to start, so why didn't Huashidu have any reaction? Can't wait? Song Yao could not help teasing. Bei Yunj said slowly, not really. I just want to trick him first. She couldn't wait any longer. She knew that it was best for her to cooperate with the treatment and tell Huashidu about her problem. But Bei Yunj was also a little scared. She was afraid that Huashidu would hesitate if he knew. She was afraid that he would not be able to wait for her to recover completely. She was also afraid that Huashidu would think that she was trouble and treat her as a strange person like those people. He was even more afraid that one day, she would really be unable to control her emotions and do something, but she still wanted him. It was Song Yao's first time seeing this person not confident. She couldn't help but smile. I don't know if you have no confidence in yourself or in him. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and glanced at Huashidu before walking towards Yu Jilin. I'll go look for a friend first. Okay, Song Yao replied. At this very moment, Yu Jilin was on the phone outside. Why are you looking for me? Luo Xia insisted, whose banquet are you attending? Your goddess, are you happy now? Yu Jilin didn't hide it. Alright, I'll hang up first. Go play by yourself. Anyway, he didn't tell anyone that he was attending Bei Yunj's banquet. After hanging up the call, Yu Jilin did not expect to see Bei Yunj. Miss Pei. I have something to talk to you about. Bei Yunj glanced at him. The two of them were chatting in the corridor and did not notice Luo Xia not far away. Luo Xia was stunned. This was a banquet? Chapter 12:11. The unclear memories in Luo Xia's mind suddenly became clear. He froze and remembered that at K University, when the hackers attacked the system, Bei Yunj was walking around with the computer. Later on, when he went to look for Nancy, the candy on Nancy's laboratory table was also prepared by Huashidu for Bei Yunj. And this time in Yuncheng, he had seen Yu Jilin, who was helping with the treatment, with his own eyes. He had walked with Bei Yunj more than once. So, it was Bei Yunj? Luo Xia's pupils constricted and he subconsciously muttered to himself, impossible. How could a new scientific researcher who had won an international award be a girl in her early 20s? After Luo Xia came back to his senses, he saw Zhou Yu in the courtyard. He immediately grabbed his arm and walked into a dark corner. He asked impatiently, "Who is Bei Yunj?" Zhou Yu was shocked. "Why are you here?" "Let me ask you, is Bei Yunj?" Luo Xia's hands were trembling. He didn't know if he was nervous or afraid. Zhou Yu's gaze swept to the man who was smoking on the second floor before he regained his senses. Yes, Dr. Luo, Master Du had long known that Bei Yunj was Bei Yunj. Otherwise, the scientific research community would not have really hidden this secret for Bei Yunj. Luo Xia thought of what he had said in front of Bei Yunj and his murderous intent disappeared. He gritted his teeth. Why didn't you say so earlier? This was a secret to begin with. Zhou Yu said confidently. Also, Master Du has been giving you a chance. You were the one who despised Miss Pei and dealt with the matter. Luo Xia, F***ck Luo Xia turned around and saw the man on the second floor tapping away the cigarette ash with his fingertips. He raised his eyebrows and looked at him casually. Luo Xia took a deep breath. He knew that it was definitely not a coincidence that he had accidentally learned this secret this time. Huashidu had calculated the path for him to take. Your master is really good. Luo Xia was so angry that he almost couldn't speak. His voice was hoarse. Zhou Yu, what could he do? Is this the first day you met him? Luo Xia walked upstairs angrily. His face was extremely dark. It was obvious that he was looking for trouble. Huashidu, are you still? Could he still be human? However, in the next second, before Luo Xia could finish speaking, he saw Bei Yunj looking at him coldly. Luo Xia's face was full of vulgarities. Dr. Luo, this is my place. Who are you looking for trouble with? Bei Yunj asked with a faint smile, blatantly protecting the man behind her. Luo glanced sideways at the man behind Bei Yunj and raised his eyebrows lazily at him. A mouthful of blood was stuck in his throat. What a dog. Is he even human? Yun, Luo Xia should be looking for me. The corners of Huashidu's lips curled up. He calmly scratched Bei Yunj's chin as if he was coaxing her. When Luo Xia saw this scene, his brain froze. His goddess had been abducted by his brother just like that? Then go home early. Don't drink, Bei Yunj reminded her. Okay. Luo Xia was expressionless when he saw that the two of them were as unrestrained as usual. After Bei Yunj left, Luo Xia took a deep breath. Huashidu, you're really good. I was fooled by you. I didn't intend to fool you. Huashidu said calmly, she didn't want you to know. Then you're deliberately letting me know now? Huashidu bit the cigarette and took a puff. He blew out a beautiful smoke ring and said unhurriedly, there's something wrong with the way your little junior brother looks at my child. Chapter 12:12. Then, Huashidu casually put out the cigarette in his hand. It's good that you two are restraining each other. He raised his eyes. Besides, aren't you more professional? A professional doctor wouldn't have any thoughts about a patient, right? Luo Xia, he had already dealt with him at the root, so he was placed by Bei Yunj's side. Luo Xia took a deep breath. When he thought of what he had said to Bei Yunj, he wished he could beat himself to death. Don't be sad. Hearing the man suddenly speak after a moment of silence, Luo Xia thought that Huashidu wanted to comfort him, so he looked up at him. However, he did not expect to hear Huashidu say unhurriedly, "No matter what, you don't have a chance." Luo Xia, why did he expect Huashidu to be a human? A few days later, Yin University officially started school. However, Yin University also had a tradition that freshmen had to stay in the main school. As a result, Bei Yunj, who had never stayed in school before, was a little uncomfortable. However, looking at Huashidu's behavior during this summer vacation, Bei Yunj felt inexplicably unhappy. "Are you sure you don't have anything to tell me?" In the car, Bei Yunj asked. Even Sing Su felt a chill run down his spine as he lowered his head and lowered his head. As expected, he looked up and saw Bei Yunj's expression that said, "Aren't you King coaxing me?" He then turned to look at Huashidu. His Master Du's originally cold peach blossom eyes were now smiling affectionately. No matter how he looked at it, he had an expression that said, "My child is so cute." Sing Su, he didn't understand. He really didn't understand what kind of special interest this was. "Do you have to stay in the main school?" The man licked his lips and whispered into her ear. "Yes." Bei Yunj leaned lazily against the car window. "We can't be special, right?" Sing Su lowered his head silently, but he thought to himself, "Haven't you been special enough?" "Who knew?" the man asked slowly. "What about the family members? Can't they stay with them?" Bei Yunj. "Your university stays with them?" "Brother went to Neely University." "There's no such rule." Bei Yunj, after getting out of the car, Bei Yunj suddenly tugged at the edge of the man's suit jacket, revealing the man's white shirt underneath. Huashidu also bent down obediently and listened to her tiptoe. He blew into her ear and asked, "Didn't brother say that everything will be mine if I do well?" "Brother, don't you know what I want?" The man, who had always been lazy and abstinent, had his pale pupils congealed at this moment. The soft and greasy hot breath by her ear made her Adam's apple tighten. "Brother, I'm already 20. I've already grown up." This ambiguous and playful sentence almost destroyed Huashidu's rationality for more than 20 years. This kid did it on purpose. She had the guts to talk to him like that. The next moment, Bei Yunj let go of her hand, pulled open the handle of her suitcase, and prepared to leave. Sing Su immediately stopped her. "Miss, there's no elevator. Master Du and I will send you up." "No need, I can do it myself." Bei Yunj glanced at the gazes gathered around her. The man had never kept a low profile. The extended black luxury car made passers-by unable to help but take a few more glances. Fortunately, it was Huashidu. If this did not stop Qin Yu and Qin Lang, those two hot faces would make it impossible for her to live a good life in school. "Brother, see you during the holidays." Huashidu looked at Bei Yunj and felt that this child was up to something. After they left, Huashidu sat back in the car and slowly let out a breath of foul air. "How are the preparations going?" Chapter 12-13. "It'll take another half a month," Sing Su said carefully. Huashidu turned the expensive watch on his wrist carelessly. Thinking of how the girl had leaned close to him just now, that faint fragrance made it difficult for him to control himself. It burned his heart that had calmed down for a long time. Born in a prestigious family like the Hua family, Huashidu had seen a lot of ugliness and obsession in the industry since he was young. However, his natural coldness and the Hua family's innate upbringing made men accept the secular world, but they also scoffed at things like lust. But now, what was growing crazily in his mind was the desire he had once scoffed at. Especially when Bei Yunj said, "I'm 20 years old. I've already grown up." The moment Huashidu closed his eyes, he recalled the scene of Bei Yunj going downstairs to drink water in her white pajamas. Her fair and slender legs were swaying. The man opened his eyes unhurriedly. His pale-colored pupils were unfathomable, but he chuckled hoarsely. This child had done it on purpose. She had only teased him on purpose when she left. At Yun University, The sound of cicadas under the scorching sun and the green trees made people's mood brighten. Bei Yunj, on the other hand, pursed her red lips. She was wearing a black mask and a face mask, but her back view attracted people's attention. The senior at the freshman reception had sharp eyes. When he saw Bei Yunj, he immediately ran over. "Junior, which faculty are you from?" Bei Yunj regained her senses and took out her notice to look at it. "Physics department." The senior was speechless. What kind of immortal was this? Did she only know which faculty she was from when school started? What a coincidence, I'm from this faculty too. I got in with 734 marks back then. What about you, junior? The senior looked up and said proudly. Only then did he realize that Bei Yunj's pretty eyes were looking at him emotionlessly. "Come, let's sign for our faculty." Bei Yunj hummed faintly and followed the cue to sign, ignoring the discussions around her. There was nothing else to talk about. They were just wondering if Bei Yunj, who was wearing a mask and a hat, would be a great beauty. Then, they talked about Qin Yojiao from the music faculty next door. She was probably the new campus belle of Yun University. Damn, 735 points. This year's college entrance exam is famous for being tormented. Top student, top student. The senior who was in charge of signing autographs couldn't help but sigh. Brainiac didn't smile. Just a so-so. In a top-notch institution like Yun University, everyone had a faint sense of anticipation. They also knew that everyone here would have good results. However, Bei Yunj turned his head and stared straight at Song Yao, who was queuing in the philosophy department. He did not hear anyone's conversation. What's going on? Why did this young lady keep staring at the new department belle from the philosophy department next door? Could it be that there's a grudge between them? A few of the seniors felt that the following plot might be very exciting. Could it be another love rival drama between the ex and the current one? Next. Bei Yunj retracted her gaze and walked to the registration form to fill in her name. Junior sister, how was your college entrance exam? How many points? Just a so-so. Bei Yunj did not mention the results. Instead, he quickly wrote down his name, collected his things, and walked towards the philosophy department. Hearing this, the senior thought that she had gotten in because she was too embarrassed to say it, so he did not ask. However, the more he looked at the name, the more familiar it looked. Bei Yunj. Have you heard of this somewhere before? The senior beside her, who had felt Bei Yunj's cold aura, did not plan to continue talking to her. He said numbly, "Where have I heard of it?" "She's this year's top scholar." Top scholar? End of chapter. Chapter 12-14. The senior stood up suddenly and saw their college entrance examination top scholar suddenly hug the gentle-looking but indifferent philosophy department belle from behind. Why did the scene look so orangey? That's the college entrance examination top scholar? After the seniors regained their senses, they stood up abruptly. Previously, in the office, they had heard the computing department boast that the top scholar would definitely enter their department. They did not expect the top scholar to enter their physics department. At this moment, just as they thought that the gentle and distant philosophy department belle would push away their department's top scholar, they saw the department belle turn around and take off Bei Yunj's black mask. They could not see the big boss's true face clearly, but that extremely beautiful face made them feel like they had been struck by a god from 10 meters away. How could the college entrance examination top scholar look like this? The creator was too unfair. Is our department going to have a school bell? The senior asked in a daze. I think so. Bei Yunj saw that Song Yao's face was red from the sun and the tip of her nose was sweating. He took off his hat and covered her head as if there was no one else around. No, you wear it. Song Yao refused. I have an umbrella in my bag. Bei Yunj gestured for her to open her bag. So, the surrounding Yun University students saw the subtle intimacy between their school bell and department bell. Were there too many useless things in their minds? Song Yao opened the umbrella again and Bei Yunj naturally scooped something into her pocket. After taking the candy, he ate it. Are you a robber? Song Yao asked from the bottom of her heart. Pei Yunj maintained her composure. She was so good that she had forgotten herself. Did I steal your heart? Song Yao was speechless. The senior who handed out the information sheet also heard the dirty words. What the hell was this? Bei Yunj liked to tease Song Yao very much. Seeing her expression that said, I'm numb, it was much more pleasing to the eye than her usual docile face. However, she did not expect that her shameless words would cause thousands of posts on the school's forum. Later, even Huashidu found out about it. On the way, Bei Yunj and Song Yao returned to the dormitory together. They were originally in a good mood. But later, she found out that she and Song Yao were not in the same dormitory. Why are you on the 5th floor? Bei Yunj asked. Song Yao said, the philosophy department is on the 5th floor. Bei Yunj. Then why am I on the 4th floor? The physics department should be on the 4th floor. Song Yao thought that Bei Yunj was unhappy and told her that she would accompany her to the canteen for dinner after tidying up the dormitory. This was the first time Bei Yunj had to suffer in silence. She did not tell Song Yao that before school started, she had hacked the school's website and changed her dormitory. However, Si Qingyan probably found out and changed it back. Bei Yunj felt that Li Siqing's behavior was inappropriate. Very good. However, she had no choice but to follow the arrangement and head to her own dormitory. 409. Haining, you're amazing. You actually scored 739 points in the college entrance exam. A girl praised. The girl who was praised smiled. No, there are bonus points for the college entrance exam. Su Xianing, who was playing games, was expressionless and could not be bothered to respond to such meaningless words. But you're the one with the highest score in our physics department, right? Haining chuckled. How is that possible? With that said, the door was suddenly pushed open. Bei Yunj was still thinking about Si Qingyan and did not release the cold aura on her, so she was caught off guard and met her roommates. End of this chapter. Chapter 12-15. Seeing Bei Yunj's cold aura, fear inexplicably appeared in the eyes of the others. However, Bei Yunj glanced at the 4 people who had arrived and greeted them casually. Hello. Bei Yunj was not good at interacting with people and did not like meaningless socializing. In the eyes of others, he was indeed not easy to get close to. Even Song Yao had sent him camellia cakes for a week or 2. Bei Yunj could not help but go over and ask, don't you have anything to eat today? Song Yao had also thought that Bei Yunj looked like the ragdoll cat she had raised in the past, so she could not help but hit on Bei Yunj. Hello, my name is Du Mingting. My name is Hai Ning. When Su Xianing saw Bei Yunj, she was in disbelief. Why did you choose physics? When Bei Yunj saw Su Xianing, he remembered this girl's golden words, if I meet you at Yun University in the future, I will still report you. How shameless of you to get someone to do your homework for you. Bei Yunj lazily placed his luggage in front of him and asked casually, it can't be because of you, right? Su Xianing's face distorted and she was so angry that she wanted to say something but stopped herself. F***CK, why did she bump into this person everywhere? Was she haunting her? Do you know each other? Du Mingting asked. Hai Ning maintained her smile and did not speak. However, Su Xianing laughed coldly and mocked, who doesn't know this year's college entrance examination top scholar? With that said, even the classmate who was already lying on the bed beside her rolled over and got up to see the face of this year's college entrance examination top scholar. The college entrance examination top scholar? It was one thing to have a high IQ, but wasn't it too much to look like this with a high IQ? I think so. Bei Yunj tidied up the bed. These words made Hai Ning's smile freeze. However, she was not sure how many points this year's college entrance examination top scholar had and how much higher she was than her. How many points did you get in the college entrance examination? Her roommate continued to ask. Su Xianing interrupted faintly, 749. When Su Xianing found out about this, she had mixed feelings. This bad student who had asked Song Yao to do her homework for her had actually become the National College Entrance Examination top scholar. In an instant, the dormitory fell silent. This was due respect to the top scholar of the college entrance examination. How did he do it? Only 1 mark was deducted from the essay? Bei Yunj answered truthfully, I wrote 100 words short in my essay. Everyone else, wasn't this too arrogant? Was this the confidence of a big shot? I remember my teacher saying that 12 years ago, there was a big shot in another province who would deduct points if he wrote 100 words less. But our province is so strict, and we can only deduct 1 point. The student on the bed gasped and felt his scalp go numb. Those who entered Yun University had the arrogance of a top student. However, this was a big shot contestant who dominated the college entrance examination this year. Who would want to show their presence in front of this person? Only Hai Ning pursed her lips and glanced at Bei Yunj with an unsightly expression. She felt an inexplicable sense of injustice. Then let's go downstairs together later, Du Mingting suggested enthusiastically. Suddenly, Bei Yunj's cell phone rang in her pocket. Bei Yunj glanced at the note and said casually, You guys go ahead. I have something to do. With that said, Bei Yunj walked out. Only the 4 of them were left with different thoughts. She was absent from her first dormitory activity. She's the college entrance examination top scholar. She doesn't want to play with us. The girl on the bed sneered. Unexpectedly, Su Xianing, who did not speak much, sneered. Only cows and sheep gather in groups. I have something to do too. Chapter 12:16. Hearing this, the expressions of those who were discussing changed. After Su Xianing left, she gritted her teeth and sneered. What are you so arrogant for? At first, when they saw that Su Xianing had been cold to Bei Yunj, they thought that Su Xianing had a bad relationship with Bei Yunj. However, they did not expect Su Xianing to speak up for Bei Yunj. However, Hai Ning smiled and said to them, Oh right, I brought you some gifts. Don't mind them. With that said, Hai Ning gave each of them a box of chocolates, while Du Mingting's eyes lit up. This chocolate is very expensive. The market price in the country is close to 10,000 yuan. Hai Ning, you're too polite. The other roommates instantly warmed up and looked at her with envy. She casually had a few boxes of chocolates that were close to 10,000 yuan. No matter how they looked at it, she was a rich young lady. Hai Ning smiled calmly. You're welcome. I usually like to eat this brand. Then, Hai Ning's eyes darkened and she placed a box on Bei Yunj's table. Because of this box of chocolates, the roommates started to talk to Hai Ning about everything. In the school of computing. Why did you call me? Bei Yunj asked. Si Qingyan rubbed his hands and could not help but hint crazily, Master Pei, when are you coming to my laboratory to play? I'm not free. Why? He had waited so long. It was not easy for this little ancestor to go to university, but she was telling him that she was not free. I also want to know why Song Yao and I are not in the same dormitory. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and stared at him. Hearing this, Si Qingyan instantly felt guilty. He was indeed the one who did this. Si Qingyan had a feeling that Bei Yunj was not so well behaved, so he specially checked the dormitory list before school started. Si Qingyan explained, Yunj, there are exactly 18 people in the philosophy department, so there are 3 dormitories. You're from the physics department. Isn't it too obvious to squeeze people out? Those who didn't know better would think that Yun University was behind this. Don't be angry. How about I treat you to a meal? Si Qingyan took out his faculty card and said generously. Those who didn't know better would think that he was going to treat Bei Yunj to a 5-star restaurant. Bei Yunj was speechless. Oh right, why are you studying physics? Are you going to change your career? Si Qingyan finally remembered. Bei Yunj said casually, Old Master made the decision. It doesn't matter what I learn. Si Qingyan was speechless. To this big shot in front of him, it was indeed the same no matter what he learned. After all, it was just a name, and the school had specially approved that he did not need to attend classes. The other professors couldn't teach her anything. The cafeteria. Anyway, it was Si Qingyan's treat, so Bai Yunj called Song Yao out. Yin University's cafeteria was famous for its delicious food, so Bai Yunj never complained about having too much. However, when everyone saw that Professor Si Qingyan, who usually didn't appear with the students, was actually carrying plates beside the two girls, they couldn't help but take a few more glances. Why did Professor Si seem to be eating with two freshmen? After all, he was a famous good-looking professor in Yin University. Everyone couldn't help but take a second look at him. The discussion on Tiaba was also going crazy. F***CK, 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 why is our Yin University's high and mighty Professor C together with two female freshmen? Danger warning. I saw it too. It's in the cafeteria. One of them was Song Yao. Popular starlet Song Yao. Professor C can't possibly like students, right? No way, no way, there's no need to be anxious upstairs. Go next door and take a look at the two freshman couple posts. They've already posted a few hundred posts. I think Yin University is the top couple. What are you thinking about? Someone has already exposed it. The college entrance examination top scholar and the department belle have a very good and stable relationship since high school. The college entrance examination top scholar? The newbie king of 749? End of this chapter. Chapter 12-17. I'm crying. I worked so hard to be in the same school as Sister Yao, but in the end, I saw her coupling with someone. Let's go and take a look at the school bells forum next door. Originally, Song Yao and Qin Youjiao were popular, but the moment the new king entered the school, the votes skyrocketed. She directly suppressed the other young ladies and made them the department belle. As expected of the official match of Sister Yao. The new king is heaven-defying. Do you need me to talk about the new king for everyone? The fourth heir of the Qin family, Qin Yu, and Qin Lang's biological sister, has known Sister Yao since high school. I'll secretly add candy. The female lead of Qin Yu's new MV is Sister Yao. They knew each other since high school. No wonder the new king hugged her waist the moment she came up. He's crazy. The people who were still discussing Professor C were instantly brought into the CP pit. Room 409. The few of them were still gossiping when suddenly, someone knocked on the door. The moment Du Mingting opened the door, she saw a familiar senior. Hello, I'm Wei Jinmin. Wei Jinmin? The head of the publicity department of the student union? The girl on the bed immediately walked down and said excitedly, Senior Wei, I'm Chao Yingying from the physics department. Hello. Wei Jinmin smiled, and the others immediately looked at Hai Ning. Hai Ning, is senior sister here to look for you? Du Mingting teased. Hai Ning was also surprised. She grabbed her skirt nervously, but she could not help but smile in her heart. I don't think so. Hai Ning had heard of the name Wei Jinmin before. She was the eldest young lady of the Wei Corporation and had many connections in school and society. Reality had proven that one of the benefits of university was connections, such as the classmates around her. Hai Ning also wanted to use this opportunity to get to know this senior, but she did not expect Wei Jinmin to come looking for her on the first day of school. Before Hai Ning could be happy, she heard Wei Jinmin ask, Bai Yun should be from your dormitory, right? Instantly. The atmosphere was silent, and it was a little awkward. Hai Ning's smile froze. Senior Wei, are you here to look for Bai Yunj? Chao Yingying also said, Senior, she's not in the dormitory. Wei Jinmin said with a smile, I know. She and Song Yao are eating with Professor C in the canteen. Professor C doesn't like to be disturbed when he's eating, so I'm here to submit an application form. When Bai Yunj comes back, can you help me tell her? I hope she can join the publicity department. Hai Ning and the others didn't look too good. Professor C? Professor Si Ching-yen from the computer science department? But how did Bei Yunj know someone like that? After Wei Jimin left, Chao Yingying sat on the chair and could not help but complain angrily. What roommates? He ate with Professor Si and didn't bring Song Yao along. No wonder he's not willing to eat with us. He thinks we're troublesome. Chao Yingying looked at Hai Ning. Hai Ning, you are too kind. You are giving chocolate to such a person? Hai Ning just smiled, her heart unable to calm down. Where did Bei Yunj's connections come from? Song Yao and Si Ching-yen knew each other. After Bei Yunj finished dinner, she was shamelessly dragged to the laboratory by Si Ching-yen. She helped him until around 9 o'clock before it was completely over. However, she did not expect that when she returned to the dormitory, the door was locked and the key was useless. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and a dark look flashed past her eyes. In the end, she walked to the 5th floor very naturally. The next day, the girl from the philosophy department almost went crazy when she saw Song Yao get out of bed and there was still movement under the blanket. End of this chapter. Chapter 12-18. Wasn't their department's bell too awesome? There was someone on the bed? The others were frightened, afraid that Song Yao was a boy under the blanket. However, when they saw the long hair exposed under the blanket, they heaved a sigh of relief. I'll go buy breakfast. Get up quickly. Song Yao tied her hair up and went out to buy food after washing up. The other roommates looked down. 10 minutes later, they saw a fair and slender hand reaching out and holding the bed railing lightly as she walked down slowly. When Bei Yunj slept, she only wore a black singlet. When she got up, she casually put on a white cotton shirt that was so thin that it was almost transparent. After she got out of bed, she sat on Song Yao's seat with her clothes in a mess. The girl's eyes were slightly red and when she raised her charming eyes, she was so lazy that it made people blush. She felt that something had happened last night. When Bei Yunj saw Song Yao and her roommates looking at her, she said hoarsely, "Hello." Hello. Why did she feel that the couple post in school was strangely real? The top scholar of the college entrance examination came to their dormitory to sleep with Song Yao on the first day. Bei Yunj actually did not sleep the entire night. There was no Hwashidu sent, nor was there that stupid bear she had personally sent over. Her old habit had acted up again. However, Bei Yunj did not have the habit of troubling others. Seeing that the lights in her dormitory were switched off, she simply came up to look for Song Yao. When Song Yao came back with breakfast, the people in the dormitory were flattered. After eating some, Song Yao suggested going to her dormitory with Bei Yunj to take a look. Dormitory 409. Su Xianing saw Bei Yunj with Song Yao and laughed coldly. It's your first day and you're sleeping in someone else's dormitory. Isn't Song Yao's dormitory more fragrant? Song Yao and Su Xianing did not have a good relationship and had never eased up. Your dormitory was locked from the inside yesterday, Song Yao said calmly. Su Xianing frowned. How is that possible? I was the last to return to the dormitory. I didn't lock it. Hearing this, Song Yao's eyes swept over the others. Seeing a trace of panic flash past Chao Yingying's eyes, she immediately understood. Maybe someone was careless. Song Yao finished speaking as if nothing had happened and Chao Yingying heaved a sigh of relief. When Chao Yingying saw Hai Ning walk in, she quickly smiled and said, Bei Yunj, Hai Ning brought you some chocolate. It's on your table. It's worth more than 10,000 yuan. Yes, thank you. Bei Yunj glanced at the chocolate on the table and hummed in response. Then, she placed the snacks Song Yao had bought for her on the table. Hai Ning casually glanced at the snacks. They were all cheap goods from convenience stores. The smile on her face deepened. Hai Ning, why is the dean looking for you so early in the morning? Du Mingting asked. Hai Ning couldn't hide the joy in her eyes. She couldn't help but look at Bei Yunj. Let me speak as the representative of the freshmen. I thought that the director would think that you're the freshman representative, Yunj. Pei Yunj raised an eyebrow and didn't say anything else. Congratulations. Everyone else, yesterday, in the laboratory, Bei Yunj had even rejected the representative of Yunqing University from the International Academic Conference. How could Si Qingyan be stupid enough to ask Bei Yunj if she wanted to be the freshman representative? Qiao Yingying looked down on Bei Yunj's perfunctory attitude and said with a meaningful smile, "People who feel uncomfortable because of this are too petty." Song Yao suddenly looked at her, as if she had seen through all her unbearable thoughts. Her eyes were still gentle. Yes, who knows what someone will do if they feel uncomfortable. Qiao Yingying's face was livid, but she was speechless. Chapter 12-19. Song Yao's gentle and smiling gaze made Qiao Yingying feel uncomfortable. She felt that she seemed to know something. Bei Yunj glanced at Qiao Yingying casually and suddenly remembered the chocolates on the table. She took out a stack of tickets from her book and placed it on Hai Ning's table. She said carelessly, "I happen to have a few tickets for the competition. I'll give them to you." With that said, Bei Yunj left with Song Yao. "I really have to hand it to this kind of person." "She exchanged your box of chocolates for a few hundred tickets?" Qiao Yingying mocked. She glanced at the game tickets and didn't think they were worth much. Bei Yunj was clearly taking advantage of her. Su Xianing glanced at the tickets and chuckled. "The VIP tickets for the Maps of the Gods summer competition are priceless. A few days ago, my friend got the tickets through a scalper. It's 27,000 yuan per ticket." With that said, Qiao Yingying's expression froze and her eyes landed on the stack of tickets again. Du Mingting was shocked. 27,000 yuan per ticket? Was he crazy? It was not new for scalpers to raise the ticket prices, but she did not expect the tickets to be so expensive. Even Hai Ning's expression changed and she looked at the stack of tickets instinctively. There were at least 10 tickets in Bei Yunj's stack. Su Xianing glanced at Qiao Yingying. "Don't provoke her for no reason. If you get taught a lesson one day, you won't even have a place to cry." Bei Yunj was not someone with a good temper. If they really annoyed her, this group of people would at least lose a layer of skin. Hai Ning composed herself and thought to herself that Bei Yunj might be a little rich, but in Yun University, she was the one who would be the center of attention. She glanced at the freshman's speech, heaved a sigh of relief, and started reading again. The freshman's speech of Yun University was more international. It was a bilingual speech, so there was a lot of content. And Hai Ning had to bite this hard bone before tomorrow's speech. In the past, it was always the foreign language department or the top scholar of the college entrance examination who gave the speech, but this year, the slot was given to the physics department. Therefore, she could not let others look down on her. The next day, Hai Ning changed into her uniform and stood by the rostrum in high spirits. She heard people discussing the freshman representative speech. That freshman representative must be very powerful. That's for sure. Every freshman representative is a big shot. Hearing these discussions, Hai Ning's mood relaxed. She even found Bei Yunj in the crowd, and the smile on her face deepened. But in the next moment, the discordant voice made Hai Ning's face change. Can't the freshman representatives give an off-script speech? The person who spoke was the new student who got second place in the national examination. He was not convinced that Hai Ning was the representative of the new students. Wei Jimin had an awkward look on her face. Indeed, some teachers had suggested that the freshman representatives give an off-script speech, but this was too difficult. She was also afraid that she wouldn't be able to wrap things up when the time came. After all, Yun University's freshman speech was trending and on the news every year. Unexpectedly, Qing Zihuai, who was in charge of the event, also asked calmly, "Can't we go off script? If she makes a fool of herself, she'll be on the news." Wei Jimin lowered her voice and said, "So I just want her to be more familiar with it." Is this the standard of this batch of freshmen? Another senior from the student union also crossed her arms and said in a sarcastic tone. But in reality, the freshman representative of Yun University had never gone off script. After all, it was a bilingual speech. Hai Ning's face was ugly. She clenched her fists and listened to the sarcasm around her. Her eyes fell on Bei Yunj, who was laughing. She hid her gloominess and said with a smile, I can go off script in Chinese, but I'm not very good at foreign languages. Why don't you find someone who scored full marks in foreign languages to give a speech with me? End of chapter. Chapter 12:20. Hai Ning made up her mind. Even if she was going to embarrass herself, she would drag someone down with her. The second-ranked freshman did not speak. His foreign language skills were indeed not good. But even if you scored full marks for the foreign language paper, you can't go off script at the last minute. Wei Ji-min frowned. Hai Ning smiled and said, I can go off script one paragraph at a time. My partner only needs to translate. Don't worry, I won't say too much at once. Are there any freshmen who scored full marks for the foreign language paper this year? With that said, even the person who spoke suddenly thought of this year's college entrance examination top scholar. He was a true genius, the new king of the top students. Then go and find Bei Yunj from the physics department. Wei Jinmin was sent to find Bei Yunj, while Hai Ning was carrying a script, unable to hide the ridicule and laughter in her eyes. The second-ranked freshman looked at Hai Ning for a while and said sarcastically, Hai Ning, you really know how to do things by pulling that top scholar along at this time. How could he not tell that Hai Ning wanted to find a scapegoat? Bei Yunj was still sitting behind Song Yao, watching Song Yao talk to her roommate. She played with Song Yao's hair for a while. Seeing that Song Yao was ignoring her, she raised her beautiful neck and leaned back. I'm going to make a fuss, Tian Tian. Song Yao was speechless. Song Yao's roommate, who had a good relationship with Bei Yunj, said, Brother, I'm still listening. Was he so blatantly looking down on her existence? It's good that you heard it. A certain Pei closed his eyes lazily and raised his eyebrows at his imaginary enemy. Song Yao's roommate was speechless. She did not expect to be so childish when arguing with a big boss. However, this big boss's temper was much better than she had imagined. As long as she bought food for Song Yao, Bei Yunj would bring her some. Suddenly, they saw Senior Wei Jinmin, who was very famous in school, running to Bei Yunj panting. Junior, help. What's wrong? Bei Yunj took off her hat and looked at Wei Jinmin. It's just that, everyone wanted the freshman to give a bilingual speech at the last minute, but Hai Ning can't memorize that foreign language speech and wants you to help translate it. The moment Wei Jimin finished speaking, Song Yao's originally gentle voice suddenly turned cold. Help translate? Senior sister, don't tell me you don't know how difficult it is to translate Yun University's bilingual speech. Are you treating Yunj as an artificial intelligence by asking her to translate temporarily? It was her first time seeing Song Yao's gentle eyes filled with coldness. Wei Jinmin was terrified instantly. Everyone was afraid of making a fool of themselves, but the actions of these people were nothing more than roasting Bei Yunj on the fire. Haining agreed. She's going off script one paragraph at a time. As long as Yunj translates it simply, there's no need for her to read too much, Wei Jinmin said. Bei Yunj played with her black hair. After a while, just when Wei Jinmin thought that Bei Yunj would not agree, the corners of Bei Yunj's eyes suddenly curled up. She licked her lips and said, Sure, but I also have a request. I want to see if you can help me with it. Wei Jinmin, what request? Someone pulled Song Yao and me into the student union and helped us block it. Bei Yunj's casual words made the corners of Wei Jinmin's lips twitch. Wasn't this request too ruthless? Who wasn't eyeing this year's newcomer king covetously? Wei Jinmin took a deep breath. Okay. Song Yao said, Yunj, the speech is trending. You, Bei Yunj smirked and rubbed Song Yao's head before leaving. It's fine. Wait for me to come back. Chapter 12:21. Song Yao looked at Bei Yunj's back view, wanting to say something but hesitating. In the end, she could only purse her lips and remain silent. Soon. Bei Yunj changed into Yun University's uniform backstage and walked slowly towards Hai Ning and the rest. The second-ranked freshman stared at her and smiled. "You're the top scholar in the National College Entrance Examination." He thought that this person would know when to back down and would not be so stupid to agree to such a thing at the last minute. After all, if she lost face, she would lose face in the country and even internationally. Bei Yunj hummed calmly and was not in a hurry to look at the script. He only poured himself a glass of water and glanced at Hai Ning, who was memorizing the script attentively. Wei Jinmin was about to go crazy when she saw that this man was not anxious at all. "Bei Yunj? Aren't you going to familiarize yourself with the script first?" Why was it that everything that happened to her didn't seem to be in a hurry? Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow. "Do you have a copy for me to see?" At this moment, Wei Jinmin and Hai Ning looked at each other and she could not help asking Hai Ning, "Are you sure you can go off script?" Hai Ning suppressed the nervousness in her heart. "I can." Bei Yunj glanced at Hai Ning and lowered his head, flipping through the documents on his phone in boredom. "Bei Yunj, it's not a small matter to lose face during a speech." The second-ranked freshman could not help reminding her. "I know." With Bei Yunj saying this, the rest of the people could not say anything. In the last few minutes, Hai Ning handed the script to Bei Yunj. She relaxed her eyebrows and smiled. "Yunj, take a look at the script too." Bei Yunj looked up at her with interest. When their eyes met, Hai Ning immediately turned her head away in a sorry state. She had a feeling that Bei Yunj seemed to know everything. Bei Yunj took the script slowly and glanced at the content carelessly. Seeing this, Hai Ning heaved a sigh of relief and could not help but smile. However, Ching Zihui looked up at Bei Yunj with a mocking expression. Did he really think that Hai Ning would memorize it completely? Until the freshman ceremony started. Hai Ning and Bei Yunj stood on the podium. The spotlight and live stream cameras landed on them and they had already become the focus of the venue. Especially Bei Yunj's flawless face. Even if she stood lazily at the side, she was still very eye-catching. "Song Yao, Bei Yunj is so pretty." Song Yao's roommates were almost becoming fans of Bei Yunj's face. Song Yao was still nervous about Bei Yunj's performance, so she looked up at her absent-mindedly. However, the live stream happened to capture Song Yao's gaze on the stage and the camera followed Song Yao's gaze to Bei Yunj. Down to the up to the end, at the end of the stage, to the stage to the stage to the stage to the stage to the stage. The live stream was filled with screams. F***CK, F***CK, Yun University's looks are too good this year. Everyone agrees that Song Yao is pretty. What's wrong with that young lady on stage? What a smile. I'm going to die. Her looks were too outstanding, so much so that when the camera swept past Bei Yunj, no one was in the mood to care about anyone else. Everyone. This is the school belle of Yun University, the top scholar of this year's college entrance examination. Sister-in-law's fans are here. I'm crying for my sister's face again. If my couple's cameraman can control the camera like this, I won't be unable to eat candy. Wait, what sister-in-law? Did I just get online? There were always people who were outside the situation and did not know that the person on stage had once become popular. Chapter 1222. Friend above, did you cut off the internet a long time ago? The discussion in the live broadcast room didn't last long before Hai Ning began her speech as a freshman representative. Halfway through the speech, Hai Ning stood in front of the aerial camera and was inexplicably nervous. She even changed the script and forgot to pause a long section of the speech. F***CK, why did she change the script? The senior who was proofreading the script almost cursed. Wei Jinmin, who was in the broadcast room, saw Hai Ning read a long section of the speech and couldn't help but feel her scalp tingle. She immediately turned off Hai Ning's microphone. But it was too late now. Hai Ning, who also realized this, also changed her expression. She was already halfway through her speech. But when she came back to her senses, she couldn't help but look sideways at Bei Yunj's reaction. She secretly hoped that Bei Yunj would be flustered next. But then, Bei Yunj just casually pressed down on the microphone in front of her, and the following foreign language speech was extremely smooth and standard. The members of the publicity department gradually relaxed, and their eyes were filled with amazement. F***ck, Hai Ning can change the script at the last minute to such a standard? The senior from the foreign language department couldn't believe it. Wei Jinmin watched Bei Yunj's unhurried speech for a few minutes and finally relaxed. She sat down paralyzed. Fortunately, Bei Yunj is still here. If it were anyone else, they would have been killed by Hai Ning. Hai Ning poured out half of the thousands of words in one go. But she said that she would give a speech section by section, leaving gaps and gaps for Bei Yunj to translate. Wasn't she deliberately harming others? Seeing Bei Yunj's calm side profile, Hai Ning finally came to her senses and couldn't help but shiver. How could this be? She thought that Bei Yunj was relying on her good foreign language skills, so she looked at the script and waited for her to translate section by section. But what was the situation now? Bei Yunj really listened to her change of words at the last minute and could directly translate it on the spot? Or did Bei Yunj secretly look at her speech yesterday? Hai Ning's expression was particularly ugly. When Bei Yunj finished translating, she woke up from her daze and hurriedly continued the next section. However, just as the speech was about to end, Hai Ning, who couldn't concentrate, suddenly got stuck and couldn't remember the next sentence. This attracted the attention of all the teachers and students in the school. The people in the broadcast room were even more dumbfounded. Can Hai Ning do it or not? At this moment, Hai Ning's expression changed as well. Just as her heart turned cold, Bei Yunj, who was beside her, suddenly lowered her lips and took over her speech very naturally. This smooth rescue operation avoided the scene of a car accident. The teachers of Yunhua University, who were used to this kind of scene, couldn't help but look at him with admiration. F***ck, did that girl forget her lines? The top scorer's father's rescue operation is so F***king cool. +1 I can see it too. What kind of god is this? He memorized his own speech and also remembered someone else's? The top scorer's father speaks English so well, and it's so standard. I don't have anything to do. I'm just here to kowtow to the top scorer's father and pray that my monthly exam will go smoothly. Thank you, father. Pass a cigarette to the father of the top scorer. Please bless me to pass the exam, at this moment. Everyone in the publicity department was so excited that they almost hugged Bei Yunj's leg and called him father. Amazing, this is the strength of the top scorer of the college entrance examination. Everyone couldn't help but sigh and sweat for Hai Ning's forgetfulness. Chapter 12:23. Even the second freshman who had been picking on Hai Ning just now was speechless after seeing it. Bei Yunj had only flipped through the script backstage, but after going on stage, she became everyone's reassurance. Not only was she stable, but she could also control the situation and save Hai Ning. Her actions were really amazing. After Bei Yunj's final bilingual speech ended perfectly, the applause below the stage lasted for a long time. At this moment, Hai Ning, who was sweating profusely, finally realized what an embarrassing thing she had done just now. She actually forgot her lines at the last minute? And Bei Yunj saved her? Realizing this fact, Hai Ning's face turned pale and she left the stage with Bei Yunj. Backstage, Wei Jinmin almost couldn't help but hug Bei Yunj enthusiastically. Yunj, you're too amazing. How did you do it? You even remembered Hai Ning's script? Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and loosened his tie. It's not much, just enough to remember. Instantly, the entire venue froze. What kind of hateful memory was this? No wonder this father was slumped on the sofa just now with a, "You called me over to save the situation" look. However, from the way Hai Ning recited backstage just now, everyone could tell that Hai Ning more or less wanted to embarrass Bei Yunj in public. However, when Hai Ning forgot her lines, Bei Yunj still took the school's reputation into consideration. This was really the behavior of a big boss. Hai Ning pursed her lips. Senior, I'm sorry. Just now, why are you apologizing to me? You should thank Yunj. If she didn't save the situation, who knows what would have happened, Wei Jinmin said with a smile. However, Hai Ning's expression darkened even more. Of course she knew that as a Yun University student, her every move would be magnified. In the eyes of the public, as the freshman representative, as long as she made a small mistake, it would easily cause public opinion. Because Yun University was the top university in the country. Hai Ning took a deep breath. Bei Yunj, thank you. You're welcome. Bei Yunj's casual and perfunctory tone made her attitude very clear. She did not intend to maintain a false relationship with anyone. Even the people from the publicity department, who had always been quick-witted and good at making connections, realized that this college entrance examination top scholar was the one who wasn't easy to get along with. Bei Yunj then looked at Wei Jinmin and smiled. Senior, I'll be depending on you then. Wei Jinmin, sure enough, it was a case of returning what one borrowed. After Bei Yunj left, the others surrounded Wei Jinmin and asked curiously. Minister, what did you promise Bei Yunj? That's right, that's right. Does she want to join our publicity department so that you can get her out of the interview? Wei Jinmin took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and put on a fake smile. She asked me to block the people from the student union. She doesn't want to join any department. Everyone, they had underestimated the boss's insanity. Other people would think of ways to get into the student union, hoping to gain more connections and experience. But this guy was different. He found it annoying. When Hai Ning saw that they were all talking about Bei Yunj, she couldn't catch her breath and left. After the speech, Bei Yunj opened the group chat. Indeed, when she saw that Si Qingyan had recorded a video of her speech and sent it to the group chat, she even sighed. Our family has become successful. She doesn't like the representative of Yun University at the International Academic Conference and went to be the freshman representative. Suddenly, Bei Yunj regretted not choosing Beichuan University back then. P.S. Good night, thank you for your hard work in helping Master Pei hit the rankings. Chapter 12-24. On the other side. Hai Ning had just arrived at the dormitory with red eyes when she locked the bathroom door and cried inside. Everyone could tell that Hai Ning did not perform well this time. Hai Ning, it's just that she didn't perform well this time. Don't worry. Du Mingting frowned at the door. Chao Yingying sneered and said sarcastically, that person performed quite well. She's even a roommate. Why didn't she comfort Hai Ning? Then, she said to Hai Ning, Hai Ning, I believe that you will be the most outstanding in our faculty in the future. As soon as she finished speaking, Su Xianing, who was eating an apple, laughed indifferently. What are you laughing at? Chao Yingying's expression changed. Su Xianing pursed her lips coldly and couldn't be bothered with Chao Yingying. She carried her bag and went to the library. Chao Yingying was so angry that she wanted to curse. But the next moment, Hai Ning walked out again. Chao Yingying saw Hai Ning's red eyes and immediately comforted her. Hai Ning, what's so great about being the top scholar of the college entrance examination? Isn't she still sitting in the same classroom as you? I believe you can win against her. Then, a strange glint flashed across her eyes as she smiled at Hai Ning. Hai Ning, when the class gathers tonight, you have to perform well. Our form teacher is our vice dean. When Hai Ning heard this, her expression gradually improved and she bit her lip again. She wouldn't lose to Bei Yunj every time. At night, during the class meeting, Bei Yunj was still supervising Si Qingyan and giving him advice from time to time. This scene stunned the graduate students who were led by Si Qingyan. What was going on? This junior was a freshman in their school this year? Why did it look like she was leading Professor Si in an experiment? Si Qingyan was checking the data at the side. Bei Yunj looked at the class message and his eyelids twitched. I'm going to the freshman class meeting tonight. The graduate students widened their eyes. She was really a freshman? But did their computer science department have such a capable freshman? I'll apply for leave for you. Si Qingyan did not even look up. Bei Yunj sneered. I'm from your faculty. Si Qingyan, the graduate students. She was really from another faculty. Let's go. Bei Yunj took off her white coat and walked towards the door. The night was as dark as ink. Bei Yunj had just arrived at the teaching building when she suddenly received a message on her phone. Hushidu, in the dormitory? Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched. She licked her cheeks and replied slowly. He's not here. What happened? After a while, Bei Yunj saw the man's reply. At the gate of your school. Bei Yunj felt as if something was scratching her heart. I'm in the teaching building. Bei Yunj sent her location. About 7 minutes later, the man replied. Go downstairs. Bei Yunj couldn't help but smile. She lazily propped up her head and read the message. A few minutes later. As soon as Bei Yunj went downstairs, she saw the man in a white shirt and black pants. All eyes were focused on him, but his pale peach blossom eyes were still a little light. He still didn't seem easy to get along with. Bei Yunj heard the discussions of the girls around her and pursed her red lips unconsciously. When she walked in front of the man, Hushidu happened to turn around and tilt his head slightly. He curled his lips. Little classmate, good evening. The man's low voice was very pleasant to the ears, and it was extremely seductive in her ears. Coupled with the man's proactive expression, it was simply cheating. End of this chapter. Chapter 12:25. Bei Yunj, on the other hand, was expressionless. Especially amid the soft and uncontrollable screams around her, she was exceptionally cold. The joy from just now was swept away. Are you unhappy to see me? The man raised his eyebrows and laughed in anger at this heartless child. No. Bei Yunj was still expressionless as she spoke. Hushidu raised his eyebrows and chuckled softly. He scratched her chin and asked, Have you eaten? The people around them almost screamed when they saw this eye-catching scene. What was going on? Their new school belle of Yun University knew this person? No. The corners of Bei Yunja's eyes curled up slightly. She was used to the man's comforting words. Then brother will bring you to eat. Hushidu's words lured her away. Bei Yunj applied for leave from the class meeting and followed Hushidu out of the school gate. At the school gate. When they crossed the road, the man suddenly held Bei Yunja's hand. His wide and dry palm was warm against her palm. For some reason, something in her heart was stirred up. It was just a hand holding in the crowd, and it seemed to be more intimate than before. The crowd at night was still coming and going, but they seemed to have a private and ambiguous feeling. It stimulated their senses and rippled their emotions. Brother, are you here to have a meal with me? For the first time in her life, Bei Yunj could not calm down because of a hand holding. They had held hands before, but it was not like today, where it made her thoughts run wild. The man glanced at her unhurriedly and smiled. I originally wanted to accompany our Yunyun to walk around the road and enjoy the night breeze before sending our Yunyun back to the dormitory. Bei Yunj, Hushidu saw that the young lady's ears were red. He hid the smile in his eyes and pretended that nothing had happened. His slender and well-defined fingers gently held the back of her hand, and his deep and magnetic voice sounded in her ear again. As if intentionally or unintentionally bewitching her, he asked intimately, Brother bought an apartment nearby. After the freshman week ends, can you stay with brother? When Pei Qian met the man's gaze, she felt as if something had scalded her heart and her ears were burning. I'll think about it. That was what Pei Yunj said at that time, but when she ate half a bowl more than usual. When she returned, the man asked nonchalantly, Has Yunyun thought about it? Bei Yunj, how much time did she have to think about it? Brother, we're adults now. We can't just do whatever we want. Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched. After thinking about it, she decided to appease him first. She was indeed not prepared to stay in the apartment with Hushidu. For some reason, he felt like he was having an affair. When the man heard Bei Yunja's gentle persuasion, he licked his itchy teeth and couldn't help but chuckle hoarsely. Then can't you coax your brother a little? The man said this seriously. Bei Yunj, it's good not to be human. I can do whatever I want. I'll think about it for one more night. It was not because of anything else, but because of the gentleness in the man's eyes today. It was simply too much. She could not think properly. All right then. Huashidu was not in a hurry. Instead, he leaned over casually and stuffed the keys into her pocket. Bei Yunj turned her face slightly and could see the mole on the man's sexy Adam's apple trembling with his deep laughter. She blushed and her heart raced. Brother will wait for you. P.S. Continue in the morning. Chapter 12:26. The next moment. Bei Yunja's ears were pinched by the man's smile. Her entire body froze and her ears burned even more. Why did this man give her a key as if it was a hotel room card? Bei Yunj even suspected that Huashidu had long known that she had no resistance to him getting close to her. Don't stare at me like that outside. The man lowered his voice and deliberately teased her. It's as if you want to eat me. Do you remember what I gave you? The man's casual intimacy was clearly full of hints and seduction. Bei Yunj, this D*MN man was shameless. Then, when he saw Bei Yunj go upstairs, the smile on Huashidu's lips gradually faded. He lit a cigarette lazily and left. Bei Yunj, who was walking upstairs, could not stop her imagination from running wild. She looked at the key Huashidu gave her and felt that it was hot. She had a feeling that this thing would open a seductive den of ecstasy, after entering the dormitory. Su Xianing, who was cutting a big mango, looked at Bei Yunj strangely. What's wrong with you? Is the weather so hot? She was only wearing a loose t-shirt, why was her neck so red? Bei Yunj. Yes. The form teacher asked me to bring you a military training uniform. You're really good. You applied for leave on the first day. Su Xianing wiped her hands and threw the military training uniform to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj, thank you. Not long after, Bei Yunj looked up at her. Military training? Yes, half a month. Su Xianing flipped through her book and chewed on a mango. Bei Yunj, she had forgotten that she had to undergo military training in university. The next day. During the military training, Bei Yunj realized what she had missed during that period. Thanks to Bei Yunj, the instructors who were leading them for military training this time were members of Team Falcon and Team Wolf. Many people counted the stars on the instructors' shoulders and could not help but feel excited. Why were all the instructors this year at the big boss level? Moreover, all of them were at least 180 centimeters tall, giving off a sense of security. No matter how one looked at them, they were bursting with hormones. Only Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched when she saw most of the familiar faces. Especially after that. There was also Ji Yiqing, who had been stuck to by the girls of Yun University for most of the day. He stood under the national flag with a gentle smile, but his military uniform made him look as straight as jade. In order to thank everyone for their love, I will use the next 2 weeks to deepen our understanding of each other. Bei Yunj felt that this was not a good thing. However, those who were still not afraid of death did not notice anything. They even exclaimed in private, "Instructor is too handsome." Therefore, under the temptation of the instructor's good looks, everyone happily carried their backpacks and took the bus to the training camp. When the training started, these silent and gentlemanly instructors suddenly became strict, catching everyone off guard. He's dead, he's dead. Is this training risking his life? Someone began to wail. However, the next second, they were dragged out by the instructor to run around the 800-meter training field. Only then did everyone realize that this was not King Paradise, but a devil training camp. The members of Team Falcon and Team Wolf from the School of Computer Science were also caught off guard. They had never thought that Bei Yunj would actually go to the physics department. Chapter 12:27. To think that they thought that this guy was in the computer science department, so they specially asked their superiors to transfer them to the computer science department. The members of Team Wolf and Team Falcon did not look too good, so much so that the students were trembling. No way, the instructor was in a bad mood on the first day? If it was in the past, there would be many troublesome students and instructors in Yin University. However, this year's instructors were not only high-ranking, but they also looked like they were not to be trifled with, hence, no troublesome students dared to provoke the instructors for the entire day. During the first 3 days of training, the instructor of Class 1 of the physics department praised Hai Ning many times. Hai Ning had the highest completion rate in the entire training. Including shooting practice, Hai Ning had the best results among the girls. Hai Ning got 78 points out of 10 target practice sessions. After Hai Ning was praised, she could not help but smile. She glanced at Bai Yunj, who did not receive any attention. Hai Ning, you're too amazing. Your score is in the top 3 in the class. Chao Yingying praised her without holding back. Hai Ning smiled. This is nothing. I used to like shooting games. With that said, she even looked at Bai Yunj, who was shooting. However, Bai Yunj's results seemed to be average. She won't feel disappointed, right? Chao Yingying sneered. Hai Ning, your temper is too good. You're actually in the mood to worry about her. Under everyone's gaze. After 10 rounds of target practice, Bai Yunj slowly got 61 points, causing the instructor to frown. Only Ah Hui, who was standing beside Ji Yiqing in the distance, could not help but twitch his mouth when he saw this scene. What kind of useless persona was this? Keep pretending, just keep pretending. Her results are like this? Ji Yiqing raised his eyebrows. He always felt that if this was the result of a scientific researcher, the contrast was quite cute. No wonder Hu Shidu asked him to give his child a chance. Ah Hui thought of the experience of being tortured by Bai Yunj in the district and his soul trembled. He closed his eyes. This person definitely did it on purpose. The last time she was shooting in the district, she got 99 points in 5 seconds. And it was under the circumstances where she was not used to it. Ji Yiqing raised his eyebrows in surprise and also looked at Ai Hui. 99 points in 5 seconds. Even the third-year players in the district would find it difficult to do so. A short while later, Ji Yiqing turned his head and continued to look at Bai Yunj. He found that Bai Yunj was not very enthusiastic about the military training mission, but as soon as it was dismissed, he would go and give water to the girl in the philosophy department next door. As a result, the other boys who had originally wanted to give it a try in front of the little girl from the philosophy department did not look too good. Is there anything wrong with Master Du's child? At the end of the day, Hai Ning returned to the dormitory assigned to her by the training camp. She couldn't hide the joy on her face and glanced at Bai Yunj from time to time. He felt like he had vented his anger. Until a week had passed. The instructors suddenly gathered the freshmen at the training ground, and the freshmen from the physics department arrived late. From afar, he could see the instructor and the new student sitting opposite each other, operating the computer as if they were competing. In the training field, 2 people were doing the 200-meter obstacle course. The instructor on the left had used an explosive for the obstacle course. It was a real flame that soared into the sky. On the other hand, the student on the right exploded into purple powder. They lost miserably in this competition. Not only were the instructors fast, but they were also not injured. As for the student on the right, his entire body was covered in purple powder, and he even completed it over time. Chapter 12:28. Bai Yunj saw that the person covered in pink and purple powder was Chu Zhixing. She raised her eyebrows unconsciously and smiled leisurely. What are you doing? Hearing Bai Yunj's voice, Lu Yuanci turned back to look at her and teased casually, who asked our brother Chu to be so handsome? All the girls in the class recommended him to go on stage. The architecture department was training beside the medical department, so Lu Yuanci knew very well how Chu Zhixing had been implicated. Ever since Chu Zhixing recuperated, he had become tall and thin. Just yesterday, Lu Yuanxi had pulled Chu Zhixing to play basketball. In the end, Chu Zhixing casually lifted his shirt to wipe his sweat, revealing his abs, causing all the girls present to almost scream. Why do you always bully our Xiao Chu? Although Bei Yunj said this, the smile on her lips was obvious. She was clearly watching the show. Su Xianing, who was beside her, was speechless when she saw this. How deep did their relationship have to be friends with Bei Yunj? Until the next moment. Lu Yuanxi, who was gloating with Bei Yunj, was suddenly called. The instructor from the architecture department in the distance said, Lu Yuanxi, you'll do the obstacle course next. Lu Yuanxi immediately refused. Instructor, I can't. However, the instructor insisted, how can a man say that he can't? Bei Yunj could not help but lower her head. Bei Yunj, try smiling again. Lu Yuanxi looked at Bei Yunj expressionlessly. You can do it, brother Lu. Bei Yunj encouraged him lazily and walked toward the philosophy department. At this moment, several girls from the philosophy department could not help but approach Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj, you know Lu Yuanxi from the architecture department? He's so handsome. Bei Yunj sat beside Song Yao and replied slowly, I know him. Really? I'm so envious. The girls could not help glancing at Lu Yuanxi. However, Bei Yunj seemed to have thought of something and suddenly opened the QR code on her phone. She smiled very politely. Do you want to add him as a friend? Song Yao was speechless. She suddenly remembered that Lu Yuanxi had sold Bei Yunj's bank account. Were these two deskmates stabbing each other every day? Not long after. Bei Yunj glanced at the two people beside the computer and asked, what are those two doing? That instructor is a senior from our Yun University's computer science department. He's competing with the freshman from the computer science department. Song Yao paused and added, but we freshmen lost very badly. This match was simply a one-sided slaughter. Both sides used computers to manipulate the landmines of their teammates and their own teammates. The goal of the competition was to protect one's own teammates' landmines and detonate the opponent's landmines. As for the results of the competition, it would depend on which team's injuries were lighter and which team completed the mission faster. Tisk, is this the standard of our Yun University freshmen? The instructor who was controlling the computer asked jokingly, is there no one who can beat your senior brother? Lu Yuanxi stood in the training ground and waited, but none of the freshmen dared to sit at the computer desk. The captains of Team Wolf and Team Falcon just lowered their heads and played with their gloves, not joining in the fun. Why don't we let Senior Ching do it? Suddenly, someone suggested. As the teaching assistant of Computer Science Class 1, Ching Zihuai also came to the camp with the freshmen. That's right. Senior brother has already graduated for so many years. Why don't you compete with our Senior Cheng? The instructor smiled. Sure, which one of you is Senior Cheng? Come and try. Chapter 12:29. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai also stood up, causing the girls around him to discuss excitedly. Ever since Cheng Zihuai entered the school, his results in the computing department had been outstanding. In addition to his handsome looks, he was once a popular figure in Yun University. There were also many freshmen who liked Cheng Zihuai. However, everyone knew that Cheng Zihuai and Qin Youjiao, who had joined the International Musicians Association, were childhood sweethearts. Zihuai, all the best. Qin Youjiao suddenly shouted. Suddenly, the surrounding people's ridicule of this talented and beautiful couple became even louder. This public interaction was no less than a public display of affection. A trace of gentleness flashed past Cheng Zihuai's eyes. Okay. Seeing this, the others were also envious. Isn't Senior Cheng and the belle of the music department too sweet? Hearing this, someone chimed in, this pair is already recognized as a good-looking couple in Yun University, right? That was right. On Yun University's forum, Cheng Zihuai and Qin Youjiao's discussion had always been very high. Instructor, please change someone else for this round. I don't dare to be teammates with Senior Cheng. Lu Yuanci suddenly snorted and leaned against the pillar beside him, clearly not planning to cooperate. Cheng Zihuai's expression darkened. How could he not know that Lu Yuanci was doing this because of Bei Yunj? Okay, then change it. The instructor nodded. With that said, a freshman from the computing department volunteered to be Cheng Zihuai's teammate. However, when the second round started, everyone thought that Cheng Zihuai, as a talented student from Yun University's computing department, should be able to compete with the instructor. However, they did not expect that Cheng Zihuai would also lose miserably after the first round. Qin Youjiao's originally excited and expectant expression froze completely. She did not expect Cheng Zihuai to lose, and lose so badly. However, the instructor even said with a smile, "You're indeed stronger than the previous freshman, but this ability still needs to be strengthened." Cheng Zihuai's expression did not look too good as he clenched his fists unconsciously. This was the first time he had been slapped in the face in public. The freshmen of Yun University fell silent. Actually, the students who could get into Yun University were more or less a little arrogant. Therefore, even when facing these instructors, they felt that the instructors were inferior to them. But today, the instructor crushed their pride in terms of professionalism. Song Yao looked away, her voice gentle and pleasant. This instructor is really amazing. His opponent is indeed quite weak. Pei Yunj snorted without giving him any face, her tone lazy. Song Yao was speechless. Bei Yunj did not expect that Cheng Zihuai would not improve at all. He had studied at the computing center for 2 years and studied at the computing department of Yun University for a year, yet he was only at this level? But when Hai Ning heard this, she laughed out loud. "We are laymen, there is no need to point fingers at them, right?" Chao Yingying also mocked, "Yeah, if you can do it yourself, then do it yourself. If you're so talkative, why don't you become a computer science professor?" Song Yao frowned and was about to say something when she suddenly heard someone not far away speak. "Instructor, I can recommend someone to be your opponent." Then, everyone looked at Cheng Zihuai instinctively. Cheng Zihuai smirked and glanced at Bei Yunj coldly. A trace of ridicule flashed past his eyes. Bei Yunj from the physics department. She used to get first place in the Computing Institute's competition. With that said, everyone's eyes gathered on Bei Yunj. Some were curious and some were doubtful. Chapter 1230. Song Yao's expression darkened. Cheng Zihuai was obviously doing it on purpose. However, hearing this, the people from Team Falcon and Team Wolf immediately woke up from their sleep. Who were they calling out to? However, before Team Falcon and Team Wolf could remind them, they heard their colleagues gradually become arrogant. Physics department? Sure, but as long as you don't think that I'm bullying amateurs. Her words were too arrogant. Team Falcon and Team Wolf were speechless. The captain of Team Falcon, Lu Zhongzhou, could not help but whistle. Then, he clapped with all his might, his face saying, "Let's fight, let's fight." The others were speechless. Bei Yunj touched the back of her neck. Then, everyone heard her ask hesitantly, but she still dragged her voice. "It's not good, right?" "Why not?" the instructor asked. Just when everyone thought that Bei Yunj was afraid, she raised her eyebrows slowly and said, "Because I'm definitely going to win." The instructor was speechless. The others were speechless. Only Lu Zhongzhou, Tan Nan, and the rest could not change the crazy look in their eyes when they heard Bei Yunj say this. Their Miss Pei was really cute. Really? Junior is still young, so you can't boast. The instructor only treated Bei Yunj as a student who did not know her limits and said with a smile, "Look at your senior Cheng. He's not even so arrogant." "Is that so?" Bei Yunj stood up as well, her eyes meeting Cheng Zihuai's dark gaze carelessly. She raised her eyebrows lazily in an unbridled manner. Then, "Senior Cheng, watch how I win." With that said, Cheng Zihuai's face was livid. Chao Yingying and Hai Ning both wondered if this person was crazy. If Cheng Zihuai couldn't win, how could she win? As for the remaining onlookers, they all shut their mouths. The courage of the top scholar's father was indeed unimaginable. When Bai Yunj sat in front of the computer, Lu Zhongzhou could not help but shout again, "Good luck, student Pei." Bai Yunj was speechless. The instructor's eyelids twitched, not knowing what was wrong with Lu Zhongzhou. "It's fine if you don't cheer for me, but you're cheering for others? You can choose a teammate," the instructor said. Bai Yunj, Lu Unc. Lu Unc, question mark. Resistance was written all over Lu Unc's body. "Bai Yunj, are you planning to ruin our deskmate relationship?" Hearing this, the freshmen couldn't help but laugh. They didn't expect that the top scorer's father and Lu Unc used to be deskmates. "I'll treat you to a meal if you lose." As soon as Bai Yunj finished speaking, Lu Unc immediately walked towards the training ground without any dignity left. Bai Yunj also looked at the instructor and the corners of her lips curled up. "Senior brother, let's use powder bombs for both explosives." "Junior, you're thinking too much." Before the instructor could finish speaking, Ji Yiqing announced on the radio station, "For the first obstacle passage, use powder bombs instead." Only then did the instructor realize that something was wrong. It was impossible for Ji Yiqing to have heard what Bai Yunj had just said, but he had suddenly asked someone to change the safety bomb. Why was that? The instructor also became serious, but he realized that the person opposite him was not nervous at all. Soon, the third round of the competition began. However, no one had any expectations for the results of the competition. After all, Bai Yunj was from the physics department. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem like he could win against the big shots in the district. However, in the blink of an eye, a thick purple fog suddenly exploded in the first passage. This caused the people in the obstacle passage to be struck by lightning. Chapter 1231. Even the freshmen and teachers were dumbfounded. However, when they took a closer look, what was even more unexpected was that the person who had been hit by the bomb on the obstacle course was another instructor. Everyone's scalps went numb and they did not dare to imagine it. Fortunately, they had just changed the safety bomb. Otherwise, that instructor would have to lie in bed for at least a few months. At this moment, the instructor who had been bombed felt the same way. He felt a chill run down his spine and entered a state of alertness. What was wrong with Wang Fengtian? He couldn't even beat a little girl. At this moment, Wang Fengtian, who was in front of the computer and was preparing to attack Bai Yunj's obstacle course, broke out in cold sweat. F***CK? What was going on? Why did his obstacle course explode? Wasn't this too terrifying? Wang Fengtian looked up and saw Bai Yunj, who was casually operating the computer. Suddenly, a deep sense of fear surged in his heart. And as expected, suddenly, Wang Fengtian's obstacle course exploded 3 more times, causing Wang Fengtian's head to hurt. "Instructor Wang, why didn't you bomb Bai Yunj's obstacle course?" someone asked in confusion. Wang Fengtian was still angry. He was even more flustered by the nonchalant person on the other side. Now, it was difficult for him to even guard his obstacle course, let alone attack Bai Yunj's obstacle course. The first obstacle course would explode from time to time, causing the instructor on the obstacle course to doubt his life. Why did he have to suffer like this? On the other hand, Lu Unc, who was jogging beside him, compared to him, the instructor on the first obstacle course was in a sorry state. This was too tragic. During this 200-meter training, the instructor on the first obstacle course had been blasted all the way, and Bai Yunj's bombs were especially accurate. It was even more terrifying than the training in their district. However, suddenly, a purple mist exploded behind Lu Unc. Wang Fengtian was puzzled. He clearly did not attack Bai Yunj's obstacle course. Then, he heard Bai Yunj chuckle and say, "Lu Unc, if you continue to walk, I'll give you a bath with powder bombs." The others were speechless. How ruthless. Outside the venue, Chu Zhixing and Song Yao held back their laughter. Lu Yuanxi couldn't help but want to curse, but he still played seriously. Bei Yunj glanced at Lu Yuanxi. Seeing that he wasn't fooling around, she also became interested. While fending off Wang Fengtian's ferocious attacks after his mental breakdown, Lin Yiqian quickly bombarded the instructor at the first obstacle course. Just like that, Bei Yunj single-handedly destroyed the mentalities of the two instructors. How could he be an amateur at this level? What's the point of blindly learning physics? Until the end of the competition, Lu Yuanxi did not have a single speck of powder on his body. The other instructor, on the other hand, was completely covered in powder, and his original camouflage uniform could no longer be seen. Why do you want to study physics? Wang Fengtian asked from the depths of his soul after regaining his senses. Bei Yunj said, my grandfather chose it. Wang Fengtian, you're so stubborn, I really couldn't tell that you're someone who listens to the elders. However, Wang Fengtian was even more troubled by the fact that he had lost to an amateur girl. At this very moment, the ones with the ugliest expressions were Qing Zihuai, Qin Youjiao, and the rest. No one thought that Bei Yunj could really win against Wang Fengtian. She even beat Wang Fengtian until he could not fight back. As for the others, seeing that someone had finally won against the instructor, they were also satisfied. As expected of the top scholar's father. This scene was simply an inhumane torture. P.S. Good night, continue tomorrow. Chapter 1232. Only the people from the computer department started to doubt their lives. Were they really suitable for the computer department? You're just a student. Wang Fengtian was more or less dealt a huge blow. After all, he was once an influential figure in the computer department of Yun University. He continued to ask unwillingly, why didn't you choose the computer department? Bei Yunja's red lips curled up, but the speed at which she typed on the keyboard was suddenly dazzling. Isn't it the same no matter what you choose? As soon as she finished speaking, suddenly, not far away, all the remaining powder bombs on the first obstacle course exploded instantly. A thick purple fog rose into the sky. Seeing this scene, Wang Fengtian's body stiffened. His brain froze and he could not think calmly. How was this possible? How could someone directly blow up an entire path? Only the members of the Wolf and Falcon teams were filled with pride. They could not hide the smile on their faces. This should be the youngest winner of the Busaka Prize in the country. At this moment, Wang Fengtian and everyone else finally reacted. If Bei Yunj had done this just now, the instructor on the first obstacle course would probably have been blinded by the thick purple fog and would not even be able to get out of the 200-meter obstacle course. Obviously, Bei Yunj had actually given in to him in the competition, and this was the real deal. Even the instructors in the district had goosebumps when they saw this scene. How heaven-defying was this level? F***CK, the top scorer's father is awesome. The freshmen of Yun University took the lead in clapping excitedly. Even the teachers who were watching from the side were grinning from ear to ear and applauding. There was indeed an amazing person in this batch of freshmen. Why didn't such a seedling come to our computer department? Si Qingyan's old colleague from the same department frowned. He was also thinking about when he could trick her over. Lu, don't have any ideas about our department. The physics department professor glared at Professor Lu next door. A while ago, the mathematics department was still snatching her from him. Now, the computer department was eyeing her. After the competition ended, Bei Yunj naturally glanced around and saw Qing Zihuai looking at her with a gloomy expression. She raised her eyebrows slightly, full of provocation. Qing Zihuai gritted his teeth and spoke so softly that almost no one could hear him. Bei Yunj sneered, then turned around and walked back to his class. Beside him, Hai Ning and Chao Yingying's expressions were also extremely ugly. They didn't expect that their words would be instantly slapped in the face. Hai Ning took a deep breath, but her body was still trembling slightly. She couldn't help but clench her fists. And in the next few days of training, Hai Ning worked even harder, making the instructor praise her again and again. However, because of Bei Yunj's competition, the instructor also began to pay attention to Bei Yunj. Moreover, no matter how bad Bei Yunj's performance was, the instructor still insisted that Bei Yunj sign up for the final shooting competition. Yun University's military training had a tradition. The final assessment on the last 2 days of the military training was a competition between each class. It was also the first opportunity for Yun University to obtain individual glory. Therefore, Hai Ning was determined to pass the final test. On the day of the assessment, Hai Ning's results seemed to be good, and many girls surrounded her. Hai Ning, you're too good at long-distance running. You almost got first place. Our class and the civil engineering class next door are so close. How good would it be if you participated in the shooting competition? Chapter 1233. Not only the people around her, but even the rest of the class thought the same. The top scholar's father was indeed amazing in many ways, but her shooting skills, it was hard for people to compliment her against their will. After all, in the past few days, under the instructor's careful guidance, the worst shooting student could get 70 points, but the top scholar's father was still struggling to pass. Everyone was worried. They turned around and saw that Bei Yunj was still eating popsicles with Song Yao. She was not nervous about the upcoming shooting competition at all. Where did she get this popsicle? Rely on her? Forget it. Chao Yingying's tone was mocking, but it was more restrained than before. However, when the other girls heard Chao Yingying say this, someone could not help asking, "Don't you know who Bei Yunj is?" Not only was she the fourth successor of the Qin family, but she also had 3 immortal brothers that others would not dare to have. What do you mean? Chao Yingying frowned. Even Hai Ning and Du Mingting found it strange. Before she could finish speaking, the girls shut up awkwardly. It's fine. Just don't provoke her. According to some who knew the inside story, it seemed that because many reporters were keeping an eye on Bei Yunj's movements on Tieba, almost all posts about Bei Yunj's identity and background had been banned recently. The Qin family probably couldn't bear for their elder miss to be exposed to the public. Why? Tell us clearly. Hai Ning grabbed the girl. Don't you usually look at Tieba or the school group? The girl asked. However, from the reaction of the 3 of them, she knew that they really didn't know anything. She took a deep breath and said softly to Hai Ning and the rest, "If you really want to know, go and investigate the Qin family in Yuncheng." With that said, the girl left. The shooting competition was about to start. Bei Yunj had just finished watching Chu Zhixing and Lu Yuanxi's 400-meter steeplechase competition. One was first and the other was second. They had earned the attention of the entire venue. "Master Pei, all the best for the shooting competition. I heard that you're the only one who passed the shooting competition." Lu Yuanxi wiped his sweat and walked over to tease Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj chewed on the wooden stick lazily. Her light red lips twitched as she glanced at the shooting team that was already in the midst of the competition. There were 4 spots in each class for the shooting competition, 2 boys and 2 girls. The other girl happened to be Chao Yingying. Chao Yingying's shooting skills were also not bad. She got 83 points in the preliminary round, 2nd place in the girls' group, and 5th place overall. After he left the stage, many people applauded. But then, she heard the 2 boys with high scores mocking her. Is this the standard of a girl shooting? I feel sorry for the air bomb in her hand. Tisk, girls are indeed not suitable for shooting. Your father knows how to shoot, but he shot a brainless thing like you. Bei Yunj had just walked over with a popsicle in her mouth when she heard Su Xianing's extremely irritable sneer. Bei Yunj slowly glanced at the 2 boys whose faces had already darkened. Before she could say anything, she heard Su Xianing speak arrogantly. Come. Bei Yunj, teach them a lesson. Bei Yunj, he even treated her as one of his own. At this moment, when the 2 boys heard this, they couldn't help but laugh out loud. Is that so? Then let's see how good the female college entrance examination top scorer is. The boy deliberately emphasized the word female, but in his heart, he was already beside himself with joy. The news had spread in the freshman circle that this college entrance examination top scorer was bad at all military training programs. P.S. I'll make up 2 more chapters tomorrow morning. Chapter 1234. Su Xianing exploded when she heard this. She turned around, wanting to grab Bai Yunj. However, in the next second, she met Bai Yunj's faint smile. Bai Yunj raised an eyebrow at her. Su Xianing, who had suddenly woken up, was speechless. She had almost forgotten that her relationship with Bai Yunj was very bad. Bai Yunj did not say anything and walked to the instructor to report. Then, the 2 boys were still mocking her. Even the top scholar of the college entrance examination doesn't dare to say such words. Why are you shouting so enthusiastically? Why am I shouting so enthusiastically? Su Xianing looked at them coldly. No way. I'm just joking with you. How can you take it seriously? The 2 boys had their arms around each other's shoulders, but they deliberately mocked her in a feminine voice. That's true. Whether Bai Yunj wins or loses has nothing to do with you anyway. Your mouth is much more powerful than your hands. Hearing the last sentence, some of the boys around suddenly laughed and looked at Su Xianing with disgusting gazes. Su Xianing's expression was dark. Before she could speak, she heard Bai Yunj's voice. Student, it's fine if you don't have a handle on your lower body, but you can't not have a handle on your mouth. Bai Yunj's casual voice was filled with her usual arrogance, making the face of the boy who spoke darken immediately. The surrounding girls could not help but laugh secretly. Song Yao added insult to injury and said in a gentle voice, "No wonder you spoke so much like eunuch." Everyone had an answer at the same time. No one had thought that the gentle belle of the philosophy department would have a vicious tongue. You! The boy was furious. He was about to walk towards Song Yao when Bai Yunj blocked him and grabbed his collar ruthlessly. A cold glint appeared in Bai Yunj's eyes and the smile did not reach his eyes. What do you want to do in front of me? Huh? Instantly. The boy was frightened by Bai Yunj's terrifying and cold aura and shrank back instinctively. Bai Yunj threw him aside and shouted to the people next door. He curled his lips casually and said, "Old Lu, little Chu, come and watch me shoot." Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing, who were watching the competition, were suddenly concerned by Master Pei. With your shameful shooting skills, you still have the nerve to advertise and call people to come and support you? The 2 of them walked over reluctantly, but they stood beside Song Yao subconsciously. At this moment. It was only then that the boy understood why Pei Yunj had called him over. He wanted Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing to protect Song Yao. Everyone could not help but look at Song Yao, then at the high-spirited Bai Yunj not far away. This couple is too easy to fall in love with. What kind of déjà vu was this? Soon, Bai Yunj took the number plate and started shooting next door. However, after a few shots, everyone saw Bai Yunj say something to the instructor. At this time, the results were printed. Lu Yuanxi was the first to applaud. Good. Our Master Pei played well. Ranked 24th with 30 points. Everyone was speechless. Good fellow. There were a total of 24 people. Seeing this, the boy who was unconvinced just now immediately laughed out loud and mocked Bai Yunj without holding back. I thought you were amazing. Didn't you shout the most about that female student over there? What if your class's top scholar can't win against me? Hearing this, Chao Yingying felt embarrassed. Su Xianing should shut up if she knew what was good for her. However, Su Xianing gritted her teeth and laughed coldly. If she can't win against you, I'll perform a live performance of breaking a rock with my chest. Chapter 1235. With that said, Su Xianing regained her rationality and felt that she was a ruthless person. Bai Yunj had already beaten her to such a state just now. Why was she being so stubborn? Su Xianing's body froze and she suddenly fell into endless regret. Song Yao and the rest, who heard the bold words, were speechless. They did not expect Su Xianing to believe Bei Yunj the most at this critical moment. This shock was no less than finding out that the anti-fans of an artiste had secretly placed hundreds of thousands on the rankings. When human nature was complicated, hatred was also love. At this moment, Bei Yunj, who happened to hear this, suddenly whistled from behind everyone. Su Xianing gradually lost control of her expression. Her heart was in a mess and her face was hot. Bei Yunj was quite gentle. "Student Su, thank you." Su Xianing was speechless. What kind of social death scene was this? "Master Pei, she has already bet on you. What are you going to do?" Lu Yuanxi licked his cheeks lazily and asked with a chuckle. Bei Yunj dragged his voice and slowly walked to the shooting platform, wiping the gun. "What can I do? We're classmates, so I have to protect our student Su's chest." Lu Yuanxi was speechless. Chu Zhixing was speechless. F***ck, he was being unreasonable again. Master Pei was always making things difficult. Su Xianing's face was still burning and she was almost angered away by Bei Yunj. And those boys were waiting to see a joke. How dare he say this when he only got 30 points? However, just as they were feeling disdainful, they realized that they had suddenly changed to high-end equipment. There were even instructors surrounding them. The instructor smiled and said, "Bei Yunj, it's indeed boring to compete with you freshmen. Come and compete with us." Everyone was speechless. What did this mean? Could it be that a person who had scored 30 points had aroused the instructor's desire to win? "Then you have to give our class extra points." Hearing Bei Yunj's casual words, the physics department class 1 was touched. It turned out that in the heart of the top scholar's father, there was still class honor. "Okay, if you win against us, I'll give you double the points." Hearing the instructor say this, no one felt that it was unfair. After all, no one thought that anyone could win against the people training in the district. "Instructor, are your eyes all right? Bei Yunj's score is 30 points. How can she compare with them?" Some people couldn't help but talk about it. They couldn't help but feel that Bei Yunj was deliberately trying to show off. However, as more and more people gathered around the instructors, everyone's minds were in a mess. What was going on? Before they could figure it out, they saw the machine beside them trying to start up. Suddenly, 2 white discs shot out, which were then shattered by the instructor. The surrounding girls were all excited. This was too cool. "I'll go first." 35 seconds. The instructor was in high spirits. "All right." Bei Yunj watched from the side. In just 20 seconds, the instructor had reached his target. Even the other instructors couldn't help but applaud when they saw this. Even in the district, such a result could be counted on one's fingers. After that, the instructors finished one by one. The best result was 35 discs, which took 16 seconds. The scene was simply too hot-blooded. Too handsome. "Bei Yunj, if you can't get into the top 3, I'll reset your shooting score to 0, the instructor teased. "Okay. Don't be afraid that Captain Tan will look for you later." Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. These big shots were each more arrogant than the other. But at first, the instructor thought that Bei Yunj meant that if they didn't give her a score, she would go to Tan Nan to support her. But he didn't expect that Bei Yunj meant. Chapter 1236. When they lost the competition, Tan Nan would come looking for them for punishment and additional training. At this moment, everyone watched as Bei Yunj really had the guts to walk to the shooting platform and slowly loaded the gun. Until the whistle blew. 3 or 4 white discs flew into the air. Bei Yunj closed one of her eyes lightly. Her pretty eyes curled up and there was coldness in them. Her fingers moved quickly and 3 to 4 white dishes were shattered very quickly. But then, more and more white discs flew out of the machine and became faster and faster. The scene in front of them made everyone's pupils shrink. They were even more shocked that the white discs in front of them shattered one by one. Is it, like, a lot of them shattered? Someone asked hesitantly. The others were dazzled and didn't know what was going on. But the only thing they were sure of was that Bei Yunj took less time to hit the white discs than the other instructors. Soon after, the results were out. Name, Bei Yunj. Time taken, 9 seconds. Hit rate, 100%. Seeing this, the instructors' expressions changed and the others' scalps went numb. Someone said in disbelief, "She hit all the white discs just now." But they didn't see it clearly. That's not right. Then why did Bei Yunj only get 30 points? Someone finally realized what was wrong. Why did the top scorer's dad, who had always been a pain in physical training, suddenly seem to have cheated? Yeah, the highest hit rate for the instructors is 97%. How did she get 100%? Suddenly, the only instructor who didn't take part in the competition turned around and looked at the crowd. 30 points? Are you talking about Bei Yunj's shooting results over there? She only hit 3 shots, so of course she got 30 points. What? Instantly, the faces of the boys who had quarreled with Su Xianing earlier were all green and red. How was this possible? So not only was Bei Yunj good at shooting, but she also beat the instructors in the training camp? At this moment, Su Xianing, who saw Bei Yunj's results, regained her senses and heaved a sigh of relief. But she didn't want to meet Bei Yunj's gaze the moment she looked up. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows slightly. It was as if she was waiting for her to praise her. Su Xianing, wasn't this person immature? She touched her hair unnaturally and said vaguely, "It's pretty good, isn't it?" Seeing Su Xianing's awkward behavior, Bei Yunj smiled casually. A playful look flashed across his eyes, and he stopped teasing her. But very soon, applause suddenly rang out from behind the crowd. They turned around and saw Tan Nan glancing at the group of instructors with an indifferent expression. His tone was cold. "Your results are pretty good, everyone." The instructors felt a chill run down their spines. They were done for. Not only did they embarrass themselves in front of everyone, but they were also caught by God Tan himself. "Let's gather tonight. I'll give you special training." Tan Nan casually buttoned up his sleeves and said indifferently. Instantly, the instructors' faces turned green. It can't be. Tan Shen was going to personally torture someone? Lu Zhongzhou chuckled from the side. Yo, everyone is quite lucky. Almighty Tan rarely trains others. The weak and helpless instructors were speechless. Yes, Almighty Tan rarely trained others. The last person who had been trained by Almighty Tan turned pale when he heard Almighty Tan's name. After the competition ended, Bei Yunj threw his gun in front of the 2 boys who were talking just now and asked casually, "Do you still want to continue? If you can't beat me, what are you going to do? You can even drill a fire ring on the spot." Su Xianing, who seemed to have been suddenly mentioned, was speechless. Chapter 1237. The 2 boys' faces flushed red, but seeing so many instructors watching, they could only grit their teeth and apologize to Bei Yunj in a stuttering manner. The news that Bei Yunj had beaten the instructors had spread like wildfire among the freshmen. What kind of big shot was the top scorer's father? Was she an immortal? She knew everything. When Hai Ning heard the news, she couldn't believe it until she saw that Bei Yunj had won double the points for Class 1 of the physics department. She was in a daze. How was that possible? During training, Bei Yunj had always been at the passing line. In fact, when Bei Yunj was training, she heard Lu Zhongzhou say that there would be a physical training competition in the last 2 days, so she wanted to avoid it as much as possible. However, she didn't expect that the instructors would pay special attention to her because of the obstacle course. At night, Bei Yunj had just washed up and didn't have time to go to bed when she saw Lu Zhongzhou's message. Her eyelids twitched. She could only put on a jacket and go downstairs to the back building of the training camp. She knocked on the door of one of the offices. Pei, you're finally here. Lu Zhongzhou's face was full of smiles as he patted Bei Yunj on the shoulder. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. Why are you looking for me? Lu Zhongzhou blatantly asked for help. Pei, can you help me check the location of these bastards and crack something while you're at it? The other instructors who didn't know Bei Yunj were shocked. What was going on? Was Captain Lu very close to this freshman who had been beating them recently? Okay. Bei Yunj walked to the computer, looked at the screen, and cracked it quickly. Can she really do it? Wang Fengtian asked instinctively. But the next moment, everyone looked at him as if they were humiliating him with their eyes. How dare a loser like you ask if she can do it? Wang Fengtian, F***CK, was friendship so fragile? Not long after. Bei Yunj cracked the result and accurately located the location. She said, okay, do you want to take a look? After that. Suddenly, they saw a series of cameras appear in front of them. Lu Zhongzhou froze. How did you do that? I hacked into their security system and pulled up the surveillance footage. Bei Yunj slowly flipped through the surveillance footage one by one. Only the others felt their scalps go numb as they looked at the person in front of them. Isn't the current level of technology too terrifying? How could he retrieve the surveillance footage from this deciphered address? Can you get the surveillance footage of our district? Lu Zhongzhou asked from the bottom of his heart. Bei Yunj glanced at him and said calmly, of course. Didn't I hack once before? Lu Zhongzhou. The instructors? Wang Fengtian asked instinctively, you've been to the district? Lu Zhongzhou immediately covered it up vaguely. She did go. Her brother is Qin Yu and she participated in the show with Qin Yu. I see. The others suddenly understood. When Lu Zhongzhou saw that the address of the fugitive that he had been searching for 3 to 4 months had been found so easily, he immediately beamed with joy. Pei, let's go. I'll treat you to a drink. Lu Zhongzhou patted Bei Yunj's shoulder and said generously. Bei Yunj hesitated. Isn't alcohol prohibited here? I'm on vacation. It's nothing serious. If it wasn't for Bei Yunj, he would be playing games at home. Chapter 1238. When Bei Yunj heard this, she didn't notice the other instructor's crazy hints. She hesitated and said, okay. But she didn't want to wait half an hour. Bei Yunj looked at the drunk man in front of her and started to regret it. She took a deep breath. Does he always act like this after drinking? God Lu can't drink at all. God Tan has been watching him closely these few years, afraid that he will. Before one of the instructors could finish speaking, Lu Zhongzhou suddenly jumped out and giggled incoherently. Look, I can fly. Guess what I am? Bei Yunj, Pei, guess what I am? Lu Zhongzhou was drunk and couldn't be held back by 3 or 4 people. Bei Yunj could only brace herself and say, a little swallow? No, Lu Zhongzhou burped and flapped his non-existent wings. I am a little fortune butterfly. F***CK Bei Yunj closed her eyes. She couldn't bear the fact that the man had turned into a butterfly. The other instructors seemed to be numb. It was as if this wasn't the first time they had seen this scene. Back at the Falcon and Wolf celebration party, God Lu also circled around the leader because the leader was a flower and he was a little butterfly. How do we wake him up? Bei Yunj opened her eyes and asked. We can't wake him up. We can only ask God Tan to take him away. The instructor wanted to cry but had no tears. But if God Tan saw God Lu like this, they would be in trouble too. Hurry up and ask Tan Nan to come over. Bei Yunj pulled Lu Zhongzhou hard. She didn't want Lu Zhongzhou to go out drunk. She didn't want to be seen by the freshmen. Ah, okay. After the instructor left. At this moment, Bei Yunj could still hear Lu Zhongzhou's silly laughter. I am the most beautiful little fortune butterfly among the flowers. Okay, you are the most beautiful one. Bei Yunj said expressionlessly. Lu Zhongzhou looked at Bei Yunj with dissatisfaction. He frowned and asked, "Why aren't you laughing?" Bei Yunj pursed her lips and glanced at him. She said perfunctorily, "Because you squashed my wings." The other instructors were speechless. What a guy. This person's ability to speak human language when meeting people and ghosts when meeting ghosts was simply too good. This strong mental fortitude almost made people believe that it was real. When Lu Zhongzhou heard this, he really did apologize to Bei Yunj seriously for pressing on her wings. Then, he obediently circled around her. A short while later, Tan Nan rushed over and saw Lu Zhongzhou, who had already turned into a butterfly. "You're just going to watch him drink?" Tan Nan looked at them from the corner of his eyes. The instructors didn't dare to say anything. Who would dare stop God Lu? Bei Yunj, I don't know how old he is. Hearing this, the other instructors looked at Bei Yunj with admiration. They didn't expect that a skinny and fair little girl could drink a bottle of white wine without blushing. When Tan Nan saw Bei Yunj, he pressed the space between his eyebrows. In the end, he could only take a deep breath. "Take her away. Tomorrow, you will go with Lu Zhongzhou to receive your punishment. Whether there is a mission or not, you are not allowed to drink in the camp. This is the rule." The instructors were dejected. Yes, Almighty Tan. Just like that, Bei Yunj finally saw Tan Nan take the little fortune butterfly away. When she thought of the situation just now, Bei Yunj couldn't help but feel her scalp go numb. She thought that Huashidu was the most ridiculous drunkard. She didn't expect that there was something even more ridiculous. Thinking of this, Bei Yunj was about to go back when her phone suddenly rang. She took it out and saw that it was Huashidu calling. End of chapter. Chapter 1239. What's wrong? Bei Yunj's tone was a little different from usual, probably because she had not recovered yet. So much so that the other party did not speak. Bei Yunj asked subconsciously, "Did you drink too much too?" At this moment, the other party spoke slowly, "Aren't you in military training?" What should she say? Should she say that someone was so happy that they were about to catch the fugitive that they pulled her to drink to celebrate? Bei Yunj said vaguely, "I think someone outside has drunk too much." The other party did not say anything when he heard this. There was no sound on the phone for a long time, as if only the sound of each other's breathing could be heard. The night breeze blew gently, and the atmosphere was secretive and ambiguous. Bei Yunj frowned. "Don't tell me, you really drank too much?" As soon as she finished speaking, Bei Yunj suddenly heard the other party's soft and magnetic voice, as if he was murmuring in her ear, "Yun Yun." Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched, and her heart tightened inexplicably. The man laughed softly. What a little liar. Bei Yunj, was this D*MN man drunk or not? What did I lie to you about? Bei Yunj asked. You promised to give me an answer the next day. Have you forgotten? When Huashidu asked this, Bei Yunj suddenly remembered the key that Huashidu had given her in her bag. Her ears turned red unconsciously. The freshmen all live in school in their first year. For the first time, Bei Yunj felt like escaping. Soon, Bei Yunj heard the sound of the other party's silver lighter rubbing against each other. The man was lighting a cigarette. He grunted and continued to laugh. Really? Yun, can't you live with me? Before Bei Yunj could speak, she heard the man's bewitching voice. He laughed lazily. I can do whatever you want me to do. For a moment, Bei Yunj was confused by his flirting. After coming back to her senses, Bei Yunj realized that she had almost agreed, so she quickly warned him, Huashidu, you're not drunk. However, the person with black hair and red robes also revealed her fair ears that were slightly red. Huashidu raised his eyebrows. He was quite surprised that the little girl did not fall for it. Yes. The man lazily blew out a beautiful smoke ring and casually lowered his peach blossom eyes. Brother just can't bear to put our Yun in school. Yun was so beautiful, and her brother was not as playful as a young boy. He was not confident. I'm afraid that Yunyun will be bored and won't even look at me. The man's voice was very low. She didn't know if he was acting coquettishly or pretending to be pitiful. However, Bei Yunj fell for it. I'll apply to the teacher when I get back to school. Huashidu's thin red lips curled up. Before Huashidu and Bei Yunj could continue chatting, Bei Yunj suddenly heard someone else's voice on the other end of the line. Master Du, everyone is drinking. Why are you hiding here and making a call? The other party seemed to have drunk too much before he dared to ask Huashidu. On the other hand, Huashidu was in a good mood today. He tapped the cigarette ash with his fingertips and his seductive peach blossom eyes curled up. Yes, I'm chatting with my girl. Before Bei Yunj could think too much, she heard the man drawl, of course I have to serve her well. Bei Yunj, what was this D*MN man saying now? Bei Yunj casually said something and hung up the phone. She pulled up her coat and hat. The next day, Bei Yunj realized that Lu Zhongzhou had disappeared and only Tan Nan was leading the team. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.